Hello, Internet. It is me, that guy who yells about fanfiction, Sneaky Devil. And tonight is another night of Fanfiction Contempt Theater 9003. Now, effectively everyone's decided to fuck off tonight, so all we have is Atin. And no viewers. Just like old times.
We could just leave.
We could. However, no. Now, let me find that thing I was looking for. Ah, yes, there he is.
I hope that's a bag of chips.
I don't want to crush these. Move this out of the way. And the spicier of the rum. Hello, Bisolus.
Hooray! One person.
Do 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 do. Alright, let me just hop on over to the fanfiction section of my bookmarks. And I actually got quite a few that I wanted to cover today. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, so we got some Naruto stories, some more Game of Thrones that we can torture Juicio with. Let's see here. Yes, a Harry Potter Fate Stay Night. Got some Harry Potter in general. Everyone always loves terrible Harry Potter, right?
Yeah, I suppose.
So that is exactly why we're going to be instead reading this story called A New Player in the Force. Hello, everyone. Yes, yes. And as always, you can follow along if you want to by either just listening in, or you can click on the link I share in the Discord every time and follow along physically yourself. I don't recommend it. The counter is still on the screen. Yes, yes, I know. The time counter is still on the screen.
Twitch has declined to inform me that you are live.
You know, Twitch just loves not telling people that. So anyway, this is A New Player in the Force, a Star Wars story. A dead soldier wins an afterlife lottery and is given the chance to live a new life in another universe while gaining access to gamer-like powers. Not a full crossover, but it has a lot of elements that are similar to those in the gamer manhwa. Original character quasi self-insert. Note: this story starts 4,000 years before the prequels, and we'll
So
eventually get there.
we're in the Old Republic, which means this person's going to screw up Revan.
Probably.
You know, there's always just something so cringy when people are like self-insert as a soldier, and it's like you are like a 14-year-old kid who has no idea how to write any kind of military personnel, even remotely realistically. Please stop.
Yeah, pretty much. Alright.
Like, one of the reasons the Republic Commando books was so good was the author, Karen Travis, was a war correspondent for like 10 years. So even though she was not technically a soldier, she was in the shit.
Alright. This is just a proof of concept I'm considering to do to get me back into writing after a long time away. So that's how that story starts, is that this is just a proof of concept, he says.
Oh no,
May
no, the next
22nd.
sentence is much better.
Oh,
And by better, I mean rage-inducing.
yes. So he originally published this story the 22nd of May, 2018, and he's been updating it for the past 2 years. Yes, very temporary.
Yes, oh so very temporary.
Anything involving the military is generally ass on fanfiction.net. Yeah, pretty much. I've seen so much just, oh, so much cringe. Shadow says it's even worse because it says the story is going to make it all the way to the prologues. I guess.
It finally loaded.
Oh, hello, Greg.
Guess Max is dead.
Yep, Max is dead. Long live Max. Anyway, so the secret sentence that Atin here was referencing is, I have never read the game, but sometimes I've seen some sort of it crossed over in Ruby. Because that's how you build a working system. Is you just look at all the animes and fan fictions, and you go, "Yep."
But it's not even the animes. Like you said, it's just the fan. Look, if you're ever reading a concept and you're like, boy, that sounds like let's say you're reading Warhammer 40,000 in Ruby, right? And you're like, boy, these space marines sound real interesting. Go read about them first. At least do like a deep dive on the wiki to find out what they're about, right?
Yep.
Don't just go, this is interesting. I'll read some fanfictions and be like, I'm good to go on this.
Yeah, that's honestly something I never really understood, is when you read a fanfiction and go, ah, yes, I have never, ever, and in my entire life, ever seen these characters before, ever watched the show that they belong to or read the books, but I will now proceed to write a multi-novel length story based on an idea involving these characters. And it's like, are you dumb? Are you genuinely stupid? Like, what?
Just don't do that.
After reading all of these Ruby stories and seeing others in Naruto and Harry Potter, I found myself interested in how I could apply this to Star Wars, since I had many of the Star Wars RPG books with me. Both WOTC and FFG. I don't know what that means. Wizards of the Coast and...
Yeah, Wizards of the Coast.
FFG.
Wait a minute. Oh, oh no. No. Okay, so there's two Star Wars RPGs out there, Sneaky. There's the Wizards of the Coast edition, which is basically reskinned 3.5.
Right.
And despite there being some stuff in there that's really, really, really stupid, like blaster bolt deflection still means you take half damage, and the upgraded version means you still take half damage, but you can direct it back at them for full damage.
Right.
Not joking. It still works fairly well, right? Like,
sure.
Because it's 3.5, and basically you've combined wizards and psionists for Jedi, right?
More or less, yeah.
The dark side system's dumb too. But after a while, for whatever reason, either Wizards of the Coast didn't renew it, or LucasArts decided they were done. Whatever, right? They lost the license. But then a company called Fantasy Flight Games got it, and they made a much, much, much lighter, easier version of the game. What But one of the things that was important about it was they were like, oh, we do this with D6s, but they were using special D6s. So obviously one part of the D6 was uh, a success, then there was a part that was a failure, there was critical success, critical failure, and then they had like one that was like success but also something shitty, and failure but also something okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was Fantasy Flight Games wanted to make something a little more narrative and something that felt a little more Star Warsy narratively, which is why they had those two specific failure conditions on the dice.
Okay.
So stuff like Han Solo is having trouble hotwire opening the door. He succeeds, but the door's stuck open now, right? You succeeded, but the door's stuck open.
Right.
Or
Right. Yeah.
you failed and got electrocuted, but the door opened anyway.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Fair enough, I suppose. I mean, I'm of mixed opinions on both those sort of systems, especially how they went and managed it in 5e in general, where it's like, oh yeah, now you gotta roll this table. Oh, you can roll this, and now you gotta roll this table. It's like, come on, can't it just?
Well, no, that was the other thing. They didn't have tables. That was all entirely up to the GM's discretion.
Okay. Okay.
We're talking about Star Wars Force and Destiny, right?
Yeah, the Fantasy Flight Games edition.
Yes, that is actually really good. I love
Yeah, no,
I love the system for like advantage and disadvantage. It's like literally one of my favorite things added to a game.
Yeah,
Role-playing
no,
game.
I do have to say the 5e advantage disadvantage system and the equivalencies that are now being found in board game in other similar games. It's a good system. I like it. I still will say, however, I do appreciate the 3.5 system a lot more because it added a lot more flexibility in terms of what was happening with your attacks. Because with the advantage system, it's just I just have an advantage. I can just roll twice and take my best roll. With the older systems, you could add a lot more modifiers in, like what's going on. If I'm shooting at someone from behind cover and I'm behind cover, that was a certain modifier to how accurate I would be. And with the 5e system,
right, they broke it down by the levels of cover too, right?
Yes,
half cover, full cover,
blocking cover, line of sight blocking cover, etc., etc. But when it comes to 5e, for example, I only know the 5e advantage disadvantage system. I don't know if it's the same at all for Force and Destiny, but
it kind of is. It kind of isn't. It's weird.
With 5e,
it's a little bit more like I shoot my blaster, right? If I roll to succeed on my blaster shooting, but I get a disadvantage, the GM might say, all right, you drop your blaster. You have to pick it up next round. Because you did shoot and you succeeded, but narratively, the kickback was too much and you dropped your blaster, right?
Or someone shot by your head at the same time and you're like, ah, crap.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, something like that. Or like even if you... Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say then we were clearly talking about different things because that system's also in 5e, but in 5e there's specifically an attack rolling system, and just generally everything else you can roll for called advantage disadvantage, where it's like you're in a scenario where it's like you've studied your entire life for holy history and you're now in a holy ruin, trying to investigate something about it. So you have an advantage, which means you get to roll twice and take your best roll. But the problem is with that sort of system, how it's set up, is that disadvantages block advantages. And it's not a stacking system where it's like I have 3 disadvantages and 4 advantages, so I still have advantage. It's if I have a disadvantage and an advantage, they permanently nullify each other no matter how many I have. So if you have 5 disadvantages because of various like debuffs on you and whatnot, but 1 single advantage, you roll normally. and so
Yeah.
that's a little
system-
bit unbalanced. Yeah.
I feel like in the next, whenever they eventually get to the next edition, that will be worked on because I think everybody likes the idea of the advantage system.
Hmm.
I just don't think it's working right necessarily, and I'm sure there's like fixes
Yeah,
out there that people use.
And I do get and understand where people are coming from with, say, the whole how attacking and rolling in general worked in 3.5, where they had to keep track of so many fucking modifiers. But it's like you had so much more freedom with what you were and weren't getting as bonuses. Like, you didn't know something, or you don't know, or you're not used to the extreme weather of this location, so your range attacks get like a -2. That's not that big because you have a +5 from the fact that you're hunting a favorite enemy. You know, it like it let you just have more flexibility. You know.
Here's the thing, right? I hope they learn. You know, I would even like it if they did like, right, like bring back advanced Dungeons and like actually bring back the advanced Dungeons and Dragon thing, right? Do a right, go like, okay, 5e's great for getting people introduced, but you know there are lots of people who they learn about this stuff in 3.5 and Pathfinder, and they go, wow, I really prefer some of the complexity here, right? Like,
Right.
literally just last week I was playing Hell's Rebels adapted for 5e,
Right.
and it's like there's this, you know, kind of this rickety veranda that you could go out on, and you'd think it'll hold your weight, and I was like, wow, it's times like this that I miss knowledge engineering.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, so I get that. I think
But
5e, the main point of 5e was to get more people into Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, unquestionably.
4e was the attempt of simplification. 4e is Skyrim.
4e was
basically.
4e was the retard's guide.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's Skyrim. 5e is more Oblivion, where it's drifting away from the complexity that was involved in the first 3, but
yeah.
But for the most part, that benefits it.
It does. In the end, more people could enjoy Oblivion, and in the end, a fair amount of people enjoyed Skyrim, but it became a very memey thing. Same with 4e, very memey. It was very much. What the fuck is going on? Yeah, did either of you ever play 4e?
No, I didn't.
No, hell lie.
Oh, it was cringe ass shit. Yeah. Let me tell you.
Well, the biggest problem with 4e was, first of all, multiclassing was dumb. The skill trees were horribly limiting because the left side of the tree synergized with the left side of the tree, and the right side of the tree synergized with the right side of the tree. So even if you were like, that thing on the left side is super fucking cool, it doesn't go with anything that I've got.
See, also, that's so uncool. The idea that you might be able to take 2 branching paths and slowly work down them and synergize them together feels so cool to me. Why wouldn't you do something like that?
That was the most awesome part of 3.5, is just going through all the modules available and being like, oh, here's this class I could take for only 2 levels, and it only exists for 2 levels, but it makes me really crazy good at throwing shit, and wouldn't that be hilarious if I then took this class, which made all the shit I throw bounce back into my hand, and if I took this class, they made all that heal me, and like, you just build this stupidly complex, crazy character that's just hilarious. Yeah, it's absolutely hilarious.
The one level in each what do they call it? Each class character.
God, yeah, those kind of characters. And that was hilarious in 3.5. And then in 5e, it's just like, yeah, if you don't literally just follow this one class all the way down to its level 20, you're just going to be significantly weaker than everyone else around you. It's
well,
like,
and
cool.
Another complaint that I had is they were afraid. A lot of the stuff where they allowed you to mix and match, they were afraid to let it be cool. And the best example I have of that is what they did to my boy, the Mystic Knight.
Well, yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, one of my favorites, just pure on the funness of it, is like Arcane Trickster. So it's just like, you know, a rogue magician. It's just like, yeah, he's a sneaky motherfucker. He'd probably steal a spell book and try to figure out how to be a wizard at some point.
Honestly, I still have my 3.5 character sheet for Cliff Cleese, the man of the greasy sneeze.
That's
And
fucking min-maxed goddamn.
he's a min-maxed level 5 sorcerer that relies on an absurd number of racials and age building that you basically get an old man. He's got near non-existent HP, but his charisma is so high that when he casts fire spells and abuses the fire mechanics of Grease, it's just like, I cast two level 1 spells. You now take 300 damage. It's like, what the fuck?
Ooh, that's disgusting.
Worse, right? A stiff breeze would have murdered him.
Yeah.
See, that's why you make 4 tanks and have them come along with you. There's this old game that I heard about that they ran the system where you roll to see your attributes, and everybody else.
That's the best way to do it.
Personally, I like that the best. Or like you roll and then pick.
I sort of like point buy for certain campaigns if you know what you're getting into, because it definitely lets you build your character in a certain way that is the most beneficial to those campaigns. That's for the more serious stuff, though. If it's not like a super serious 3.5 campaign,
but even in super serious campaigns, there's plenty of room for it as long as the DM isn't a total asshat. Right?
Yeah, so like if you roll 4 3s or something like, or 4 4s, you know, that he'll say like, all right, you can re-roll 2 of them, you know, or something like that.
Right.
But you're gonna have to deal with having a 4 intelligence or a 4 strength or a 4 well, probably not constitution. Who the fuck does that? Unless you're Grease guy. But
to be fair, he actually had relatively normal constitution.
No, it was like 7.
No, but I said, and then he got old.
Yes, and then he got old. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh, but they did the roll method, and this guy was telling the story of how he ended up being a bard. Right, his character was a bard who ended up with like 20, 20, 19, and then like 18, 17 was his rolls.
Yeah.
Everybody saw them. So when everybody else had rolled relatively normal, you know, a couple high, a couple low, a couple in the middle, and so he decided to make his character Kanye West, and everybody else was his hype man. So they ran around in their campaign while he, the bard, like performed everywhere being Kanye West.
Yeah. Well, it's like I ended up with Oh,
and he already had picked beforehand that his like flaw was gonna be that he was like a fucking asshole.
Oh god, flaws.
Like, full of himself.
Flaws are absolutely something I utterly miss when especially when it comes to just feats in general. When it comes to 3.5 versus 5e, feats just are so neutered in 5e. Meanwhile, in 3.5, fleets.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to disagree with you that they're neutered, but there are some really cool feats there, right? Like.
Yeah. But some cool feats doesn't really make up for the entire system itself being basically butchered.
Oh god, no, it doesn't.
I'd say a lot of those though can be like, that's like a DM thing that you can come up with more feats for your for your campaign. And
yes, but
obviously you want Wizard to like work on it themselves and actually come up with a decent product.
The problem is that homebrew is homebrew.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I don't know. It's just like I feel like sometimes.
I mean, I know people in the DM's Guild have worked on supplementing it.
Yeah, but like the 3.5.
Do you guys know who James D'Amato is?
No.
By chance? James D'Amato does a lot of good work on being a DM, and then more than that, being a character. He's the one. The only reason I found out about the Star Wars Force and Destiny is he did a campaign. All around that Star Wars Force and Destiny system, and then ran it for 100 hours or 100 episodes or so, and I listened to it all, and it's wonderful.
But yeah, so here's the thing, right? I hope, getting back to where we were, I hope that when we get, 3.5 or 6 or whatever ends up happening, I hope they go, okay, let's bring some of the complexity back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Wizards
It
have
is my
seen a
hope,
lot
yeah.
of growth in the last I've seen a lot of growth in the last, I'd say, since 5e came out, and
Like
it was smart in my
Pathfinder
opinion.
2. Pathfinder 2 was a good attempt, and there was a little bit that I definitely liked about the changes they made for Pathfinder 2, but they went the route of 4e, in my opinion, with Pathfinder 2, and it got very cringy very fast in
They
both.
dumbed it down too much.
Yeah, in both the context of the lore for
I was gonna say,
everything.
the thing that's really weird
And
about it
how
is
the
they
system's
did
operated.
dumb it down and they didn't dumb it down, right? Like racial bonus, like they kept negative racial modifiers and they kept like skills working, right? Skills still work the same way. It's very strange.
But
They
like
didn't.
the thing I miss the most about 3.5, like, because obviously I've been playing a 5e campaign for like the past 3 years now, but the thing I miss the most about 3.5 is just the what the fuck I could get out of the DMs, because I had quite a number of DMs that never checked our character sheets. They were just like, here's the outline of what you're supposed to do. If you don't have a character that meets this outline, I'm kicking you for a session. So obviously you made sure your character meet that outline, but the problem is to
That's
follow
still wiggle room.
the letter of the law, not the spirit of it. And so when the
Exactly.
first session starts and your character's just like, I fucking kicked the door down, the DM's like, are you sure you really want to kick this door down? There's gonna be like a whole shit ton of people in there. I'm like, yeah, I'd do it. And so the DM just tries to have the whole room gang up on my character, and I'm like, and so they're like, okay, what's your AC again? 36. What? I'm sorry, what? Yeah, it's 36. Oh, well, okay, well, no one in here can actually hit you.
They cannot hit you.
But like, and it's not just that. Like, there were, and now part of this is Pathfinder and 3.5 were just around for a fuck long time, right?
Sure,
But
yeah.
the kinds of classes you got and the amount of overlap you got
Well,
to allow people to have fun, right? I
that's
will
what
complain
I
about.
liked about 3.5 so much is the amount of overlap. Because a lot of people are like, oh, the overlap's dumb because it really, like, makes things indistinct. I'm like, okay, well, 5e makes things really indistinct, to be honest. But the overlap in 3.5...
I think they've worked on 5e a lot. I feel like they realized, yeah, they maybe have dumbed it down a little bit too much. Not to the level of 4e.
The thing is, with 3.5, you had, like, 8 different flavors of using a bow. And, like, yes, all of them use the bow, but they all use the bow in completely different playstyles. Which would result in your character doing things completely different from other characters.
Like,
I think what they didn't like about 5e, though, is, like, yeah, that is good in ways, but it also like puts a huge burden on the DM to be able to keep up with everything, in that he doesn't let people like fucking destroy the game by running with something crazy like you would do.
Right, true, and it's definitely a shift in expectations on the DM's end when it comes to 3.5 versus 5e, because a lot of people mention the common exploits, the classic shit like eschew materials, cast throw on a colossal crossbow bolt. Because eschew material is a below 1 gold. You could cast it for free, and throw requires a item to be thrown. So you would eschew a colossal crossbow bolt, and then with a literal cantrip, you would deal like 12d6 damage. But that's the thing, though, is that these exploits were known, they got popularized, and then they were added to the common list of banned shit. And so when a DM wanted to start a game, there'd just be like, refer to common list of banned shit, don't do these things. And everybody
like, as an example,
But in
Star Wars
5e,
tabletop RPG.
this shit
you know.
literally can't happen, so there is no common list of banned shit. It's just Wizards of the Coast coming in and going, we have banned all this shit for you preemptively. You may continue. But yeah, so
Well,
Star Wars.
like I remember in the Wizards of the Coast Star Wars RPG, right? It got to the point where everybody I knew was like, okay, martial arts Wookiees are banned because you're not getting fucking
Yeah.
48d6 or whatever punching someone. I'm just not going to let that happen.
Right, yes.
Right? And there are, right, I understand why you ban stuff like that, right? I really do. Because nobody wants to have that guy at the day, right? Now, I'll give Sneaky this. Usually when he does a bit, right, he does min-max, but he min-maxes it in a funny way. Like, we once did a collective min-maxing. Remember, Sneaky, the Paladin, the Cavalier?
Yeah, the
And the
Cavalier.
Goblin
The
Alchemist?
Cavalier who got bonuses to defending people and from being drunk, and then the Alchemist that makes alcoholic drinks and potions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oof, that's hilarious. See, that's the thing, though.
It was a really
big
effective
problem
team. But we committed to a bit, right? It's like, why is this guy his friend? Well, he's part of the Order of the Flagon, which is like, everyone needs to calm down and have a drink. And he saw people harassing a goblin. He's like, that's not cool. Goblin buddy, come with me. And the goblin was like a human that isn't a tool, and he drinks. I can work with this.
Yeah. So, but the DM can work with that and can roll with
Right,
that.
yeah.
So
Oh,
let's
yeah.
go to this city where they're really kind of doing the footloose thing, except for prohibition, right? And so, like, you gotta see, that'd be fucking baller though for a campaign. All right, you guys, you're prohibition mafioso. You're running alcohol into this city and making bank from it. But the cops are onto you, and that's just how you start it. So
Well,
you're
and-
going over to what's his
And the
name's
best
house
part
to
is,
catch
it's
a
like,
symptom.
why is one of your guys doing that? Oh, he's doing it because he's actually a Cavalier who belongs to the Order of the Flagon.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like again, I think a big problem is when it's sprung on a GM. When the min-maxing is just someone trying to be a murder hobo asshole.
Well,
Like Lulu.
yeah, like Lulu. That's a common problem I encountered in a lot of the D&D campaigns I was doing, is they would min-max in a fashion that just made them better at killing shit and not just funnier. Like, I convinced one of my friends one time to go down a fighter tree to get him the stats required to pick up Hulking Hurler in 3.5, of course. That let him throw things significantly larger than himself, which he then transitioned into Blood Knight, which let his thrown items that were bloodbound to him return to him, and then it transitioned into another thing that I forget. But what it came out to is that this guy, who was a Minotaur, basically fought by throwing around a colossal scythe. Like, he didn't swing it, he just threw it at people.
That's fucking good, man. That's fucking hilarious. Just throwing fucking scythes at people.
And it would always teleport back to his hand at the end of the turn so he could throw it again. And it was just the funniest fucking shit, because he's like, yeah, no, I literally can't swing this, because he had like negative 26 to swinging it as an actual weapon, but because of his class build, he had like plus 12 to throwing it.
Oof.
That's
a real oof.
And so it was just the silliest shit ever. You have this fucking 10-foot tall Minotaur running around, throwing around a 30-foot tall scythe.
Right, or like, another thing that's great is when you commit to a bit. Like, for instance,
yes. I love bits.
Here's the thing, right? The other thing is, I know lots of people who are like, I hate it when people are like, I'm trying to be X character, and I'm like, yes, but here's the thing, right? I hate the people that half-assed it. If you're gonna do it,
Do it right.
go
Yeah.
all in, right? Like,
Yeah.
as an
Go
example,
all in.
right? Like, as an example, if you're going to pick, like, if you're like, I want to be, I
The
don't know,
very
fucking...
best. Like no one ever was.
Alright, fuck you. God damn it. Whip guy, Castlevania.
Right.
Any of the Belmonts, right?
Right.
Right?
Or like
You pick a fighter. You specialize in whips, or like be
Right.
an inquisitor
Right.
who, right? Because the best part, my favorite part was when they were like, there are non-aligned inquisitors. They're just like, right? Like someday someone's just like, fuck the undead,
Right.
right?
So
Do that.
one of my favorites to see, I would love to see someone do it or do it myself, is Jon Snow as like an actual person. So just you're a part of a whole an order of like somewhat how would I put it, like criminals, but they're doing stuff to get
Uncriminal.
sentences. Yeah. So like it's like what is the word I'm looking for? Holy shit.
Sentenced to pardon.
Penal?
Penal, yeah, like a penal colony essentially.
Right.
But you're doing something good, so you're part of it, and then like you have a wolf, and so you play a ranger, and he has the Jon Snow voice, and he complains about shit, and it's funny, but you just have to commit if you're gonna do a bit. Like that's the
Like-
biggest problem for me. Like if you're gonna do a half bit,
I got so much shit from my party members, and like out of character. I got so much shit from my party members for them not understanding that I was committing to a bit. Like, I will take flaws like racist towards X race, and I'll just fucking double down on it. Like, I had a
He
pirate
will play those two
who
guys
was
shit.
racist
No,
towards
yeah, that's-
elves, and
that's all.
we
but-
had an
but
elf
if
in
you're
our
gonna take a
party.
flaw, if you're gonna take a flaw, you have to run with it.
Yeah,
I
and
hate it when a character doesn't commit to being that character and just metagames it. Fuck metagaming, man.
And
Alright, you
because
can
my
min-max
character was
all
a
you
pirate,
want.
he looted shit all the time. He specifically carried around a sack that he could just fit more loot into. And he was horribly dismissive and like just confrontational all the time with our elf party member. And my team, all my people were out of character. Were like, "Oh man, dude, you're really fucking it's getting really annoying. Your character's getting really annoying." It's like, this is literally my character though. Like, he is a pirate who is racist, and the only reason why he is here is because you literally recruited him at gunpoint.
Yeah, so like I don't get it when people take a flaw and then don't do it.
Yeah, no,
Unless your
If-
character
yeah.
goes through some sort of extreme change in the campaign itself, which is okay, because
Yeah.
you don't want them to be like sedentary, I guess is the word. I'm
yeah,
looking
exactly.
for.
Yeah, you don't
But-
want them
Yeah,
to be
I knew
unchanging.
one guy who he'd taken a character who was a massive alcoholic, and through the course of the campaign, as sometimes happened, you know how sometimes you acquire the adorable NPC who follows you, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Right, the specifics of the NPC are important, but for some reason they're adorable.
Right.
And he
And
ended
they're
up being
great, and they have a great voice, and
Right.
you all
Sure,
love
whatever.
them and dote on them.
yes, and he ended up being the pseudo father figure, and that was how he lost the out. He worked with the DM, and it's like, okay, you can go to the other party members and be like, guys, I need to get clean.
Mhm.
That's fucking great. I love that.
And we had an entire session of
Oh.
us trying to restrain the level 13 wizard from getting a drink.
See, that's actually a great moment. So again, we had a time skip occur in that campaign where I was the super racist pirate. We had a time skip occur, and the DM said, write him a letter in which it describes what our character's actions are over the course of the next year, because our party effectively disbanded after this one quest, and that we were supposed to write what we went off and did, and then we would reconvene for like this next like calling of heroes, basically, for the next
The
half
Avengers
of the...
assembled again.
Right,
whatever.
exactly. And I was the only one, and I checked with my DM, I was like, so I have 2 letters for you. One if no one did this part, and one if people did do this part. And he goes, okay, well, no one actually did this part, so send me that letter. I was the only person who went back to the king in the story who assigned us this quest in the first place.
Oof.
So my
I remember
entire
that story.
description of
the
what happened.
Pirate. Let's
The-
be clear here.
Yeah.
The racist
The racist pirate
thieving pirate.
who
Yeah.
was the only one who went back to the king, proceeded to just lie out of his ass about his entire party and how they were corrupt and evil and how they disregarded the king's orders and ignored the quest, and that's why the quest failed.
You fucking Grima worm-tongued his ass,
And,
man.
and how
best
he
part is-
tried
the best
so
part is
hard.
He completely included the parts where he was racist and looted left and right.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
He made
yeah.
it believable by going, "No, listen, King, I am not a good person, all right? But these people, oh boy, they make me look like a saint. Let me tell
He's
you."
pulling shit out of his sack because it also I worked with the DM. It also functions as a
Bag of holding?
Bag of holding. And he's pulling shit out of this sack. I'm like, look at these papers I found. You know, I mean, yeah, I stole them off of this guy, but this proves this shit. And like, I just went into this whole fucking basically essay of inventing shit that the rest of my party did. And the king's like, well, you are the only one that came back to report at all, so I can only believe you because nobody else even bothered to come back and tell me anything.
And I can
Exactly.
only assume that the rest of them will come back, and then when they hear about you, go,
Oh no,
"Yeah,
that's
they
how the
killed,
next
like, an
session
entire
started.
village."
No, the next session started with me being charged by the king to go around and arrest everyone.
Dude, that's so fucking great. Holy shit. That is one of the greatest things ever. Just and what was the surprise on the party members? Did they like lose
No,
their
the
shit when they found
okay,
out?
this is where like I actually gave kudos to the DM. I ended up leaving this campaign because me and the DM had a lot of differences in how he handled his campaigns and specifically favoritism. But true to his word, he did not tell the rest of the party. And this is, by the way, back in the days when you met up in person for pen and paper.
Yeah.
The
And
best.
he did not tell any of them what was going on. And I had lied to them all about meeting me in this one location because the king wanted us to do this thing. And so all their characters showed up. And the entrance my character had was dropping an anchor through the roof of the house, blasting the rest of the roof off, and going, "You are all under arrest by the order of King Tyrannus."
FBI, open up!
They're just like, what the fuck?
Dude, you know the gif of the guy coming through the sun
Yeah.
roof or
It was
something? That's
literally that.
fucking you.
And like they are, like I had like an army detachment backing me up on this too. And then
Oh
as
my
the
God.
DM's describing all this shit, the players are like, "What the fuck?" And he literally just looks at him and goes, "Guys, literally, he was the only person who went back to the king."
He wrote the fucking letter, you idiots.
No, it's not that he's the one that only wrote the letter. It's he's the only one who went back to the dude.
Yeah,
hired.
literally everyone else was like, "Oh, I return to my people," or "Oh, I will go out sailing," and "Oh, I
That's
go
so
here."
stupid.
Like literally, all of them wrote about how their characters went off and did their own quests.
They fucking Lord of the Ring it up. We all returned to our realms. And
Basically,
then someone went across the
Except-
sea.
Right, except no one went to Aragorn and was like,
no one was like, "Yo, hey, maybe we
Sauron's
should
dead,
tell the king
Smeagol's
about
a
this."
terrible-
thing."
Right? It'd be like if Smeagol
No one-
somehow survived and was the one who was like, "Yeah, Frodo tried to kill me, and Sam was an asshole, and I was the only one trying to get this ring in the hole."
Yeah,
No, it's more like if Boromir survived, and he's the one who went to Aragon and was
more
like,
or less.
"Hey, bro,
Aragon.
bro,
Yes. Yeah. No.
they
It
fucking
was.
they're pieces of shit, you know."
Yeah. It
Why did he suddenly become vaguely Mexican?
vaguely Mexican
I was trying- I was
Italian
trying-
mafia.
Yeah, I was trying to go for Italian Mafia. It didn't come through all the way.
The Mexa mafia. The Mexi
I'm
mafia.
amazed how long this conversation's carried since I hopped in.
Thank you.
Dude, it's always when I come in.
Because guess what? This is still more interesting than anything else that's going on.
Basically, so the thing is, and the reason why I allowed this conversation to go on for so long, is the author, after mentioning both the RPG books, is the author proceeds to say, while this will have elements of a gamer, it's not a crossover, nor is it an actual self-insert, but more based off of me. Also, there's no actual story in this first chapter. It's literally just me describing the mechanics of the OC gaining gamer powers.
Why do they put this on fanfiction.net though? Like, that's what I really want to know.
Because
Most of the time,
it's
I
a Star Wars story.
just put it on like Fiction Live or something, or like
Fanfiction.
What's wrong with fanfiction.net?
no, it feels really weird to put that as your thing. So it feels like more like something you put on Questionable Questing, or like
Oh,
Fiction
yeah,
Live,
I
something
see what
that-
you mean. Yeah.
something that has a little bit more input.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. Some people are really dumb. Okay,
It
that's
just seems
what
like
I've
the
come
worst
down to.
platform for it. You know what I mean? Like
There
even
is a
alternate
reason.
history
Yeah.
or SB or SV. Any of these places could help you do this a little bit better.
Yeah. No.
Whereas fanfiction.net just feels like, all right, so there's this whole chapter of all what is that word I'm looking for? There's
Well,
one
no,
chapter-
like it's not just a game mechanics chapter. The thing is, what he's saying is that there is a narrative ongoing in the first chapter that is just describing the game mechanics as they happen, and it's going to be very light on actual story build. Is what
that
he's
still
saying.
sounds boring as fuck for a first chapter.
It is the dumbest shit you could ever do for a first chapter, and it's something I've commented on multiple authors, more so on SBSV these days, because they're more. It's a more commenty area, and so when I do typically have my good snappish, witty replies to chapters or openings, I get lots of likes on that, and that makes the author take it as a more important comment.
And they'll change in the future. That's the thing about, honestly, at this point, fanfiction.net is only good for the fact that it's accessible in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
SB, SV, barely, but SB, alternate history, questionable questing, those are the only places where it feels like an author can take criticism. And even then, you know, we've seen the SV people who can't take any criticism. But
I mean, I have some golden fucking comments that somehow made it past the harassment filter on those websites. Shit like, man, I know there's supposed to be a light at the end of the tunnel, but I didn't think it would be the flash of a gun barrel.
that's a pretty good one. I have the same thing with like shitty fan fiction on what is that one called? Alternate history.
Mm-hmm.
I just like pour a bucket of shit over them. And sometimes I do get in trouble. Or mods like, don't be that mean. But luckily, you know, generally that forum is pretty good about shitting on people who come up with bad ideas. And then post them.
It's
Because that's the worst part. Come up with a bad idea, keep it in your head.
this is actually going to be relevant to fan fiction, so I guess it's not too much of a derail. But I see a common argument in that, oh, it's fan fiction, it's a hobby, and I can't help but think, like, relate to Max in this instance of like, it's a hobby, sort of like how building Gunpla is a hobby and then painting them is a hobby, and you wouldn't want to poorly build a Gunpla and then poorly paint it and then proudly display it in like a case, and when people come over and look at it and they're just like, wow, this is garbage, and you're like, no, it's not, it's
I
great.
have some bad news for you.
Unless it's your literal first, it should be, look at what I did. It's shitty, but it's my first time and I did it.
Yeah, but
Well, yeah, a lot of authors
it's the
look back on
equivalent
their
of
first
building
pick and
like
go,
it's the
this is
equivalent
your
of taking
12th
like a real grade, and
no,
then
no, not even that. If this is your 12th Gunpla you built
yeah.
and painted, and it still looks like the first one you made and it looks bad, there's a problem and you're not improving.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of times the best authors are the ones that you see the change in their writing level.
Yeah.
So like the ones who you see, like I'm just off the top of my head, there's one I remember, his name's Anthony. Or not name, that's his handle, to be clear. We do not dox here. And you can tell from his first fic, which he finished it, but just in the summary itself,
Right.
it's even worse than
Right.
any of his other stories. And I go back to it, and because I like the fic, but even I acknowledge that like it's way worse in quality to his
Right.
other stuff. But at the same time, that's a good thing.
No,
That's like
definitely
him growing as an author.
But with the argument of like, oh, it's a hobby, they can write whatever they want, anything's a
Yeah, I don't
valid
like that.
idea, and it's like, okay, well, that's the difference between having a daydream about, you know, you being like super awesome and like matrix dodging through a bunch of bullets in your favorite series and like shooting some bad guy in the face. That's a daydream. You don't really share that daydream though. Like, you don't turn to the person next to you and go, hey, so I just had this daydream where I had like superpowers and I matrix dodged around Goku and then shot Brawly in the face. And people will just look at you and go, that sounds stupid. And why are you telling me this? Like, that's how I feel about fan fiction. Like, there is having a daydream and having that, you know, mental power trip, fun little time, like pointless endeavor. Well, nothing big, nothing serious, but you're also not telling anyone about it. Like, your little idea can be as dumb as you want, could be as cracky as you want, but you're not telling anyone about it, you know?
Yeah, I feel this.
But when you sit down and you write it and then you post it publicly onto a publicly accessed public forum like fanfiction.net or Sufficient Velocity or pick your website here, it is kind of the equivalent of like you're in a group of people and you just start talking about your idea, and you kind of there is a invisible bar, I guess you could call it, of shareable quality.
It's not just that. People need to understand, if you go into a public forum, be prepared for people to not like your idea, for people to shit on it, right? Especially on the internet, right? Like, it's been proven that anonymity makes people assholes.
Oh, well, just, you know, not even anonymity at this point. We've seen Twitter.
I know, but I'm just saying anonymity especially.
Yes,
right?
definitely.
Scientifically proven. But be prepared for people not like your stuff.
Right.
To shit on you, to call your idea dumb.
Yeah.
Especially, and more importantly,
well, especially shit that they're fans about, like
truth from it.
Yeah, especially if you know, say you're writing a story for, say, Fate Stay Night, you should really expect Fate Stay Night fans to get up your fucking ass about everything you get wrong about Fate Stay Night.
Yeah. So, and especially, okay, this is the one that really gets me. If someone goes out of their way to be like, hey, and especially if they're nice about it, hey, in this paragraph, you fucked up this word, right? Why do authors get upset about that? Like, if someone goes out of their way to be nice to you and then tell you an error you made,
the babification,
questioning their own word.
Yeah, it's a babyfication, I guess you could call it, of just people in general. It's a lot
it feels like it's gotten worse.
Yeah,
it feels like it's gotten worse over the years.
Unfortunately, the fan fiction communities, you can easily see this if you go to any of the Discords that I don't run.
Yeah.
The fan fiction communities are very thin-skinned, and for example, r/fanfiction Discord,
Dude,
not /fanfiction, just Reddit /fanfiction.
That one is a fucking
They made
pile.
rules. They made rules about not being allowed to say that someone else's idea is bad. Like, you're not allowed to say negative things.
I've got an idea about the Jews, okay? And you might not like it. But that is such a stupid fucking thing to say. How can you make it?
It's beyond.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's just so stupid, because then it can just be turned around against you. You know my idea? My idea is that you're all shit writers.
My idea is that we're all in a world where everyone who writes fan fiction is absolutely fucking garbage and they refuse to acknowledge it. I'm gonna write a story about that, and now you can't deny it. Like, no, but that's actually, so you weren't here for this, Juicio. this happened like maybe a year and a half ago, maybe more than a year and a half ago, actually, now that I think about it. We had a guy.
Yeah, it might be longer than that, because I've been here.
We had a guy who showed up in my Discord, my Who Idiots and Southerners Discord. Who had the postmodernist opinion that no opinions could be wrong, and I said to him, well, what if my opinion is that you're wrong?
Head blown.
Like, and it was a 45-hour argument where he kept trying to work around. Huh? 45 minute,
hour.
yeah, sorry, 45 minute. It was a 45-minute argument where he kept trying to stick to his claim that no opinion could be wrong, but also somehow that my opinion was wrong to not disprove his opinion.
That's,
Well, and he was also like, okay, but people who are like kill all of the African Americans are wrong, and I was like, but
Yeah.
that's
But
their
how?
opinion.
Yeah.
yeah.
By the way, let's be clear here. We don't support this. That was an example used to prove why his philosophy was stupid.
And
But
why? It's dangerous to believe it.
yeah,
Yes.
but
You know,
he
Twitch,
he
we
was
here believe
using
in stopping dangerous ideas.
indeed.
Just-
Yeah. But he had that belief that and he used that for an argument for fan fiction as to why no fan fiction is really wrong because it's a fan pouring their heart into their fandom. It's like, okay, that's great though,
Fucking kill
but
me
you
now.
could also say serial killers pour their heart into murdering people.
Well, depends on which one.
No, all of them. That's why they're serial killers. They have a specific series of people that they will kill due to certain traits of those people, and they pour their heart into it.
Yep. You know what? Hot take, but serial killers aren't bad people. You know?
Right, but and this is actually relevant. One of the reasons I never got into like posting on online forums or like doing RP back in the days of Star Wars Galaxies and WoW was I was like, you know what? I don't think I have a good enough idea, and I don't want people to think I'm dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
I just did.
That is literally what has kept me from writing fan fiction for like 8 years now.
But guess what? That's okay if you don't
Yeah.
think you have right now. At some point, like myself, you have to go. You know what? I just gotta put something out there, and if people hate it, they'll hate it. But use that, right? Like more people need that, especially when we see these people that are like, "This is myself." Insert Naruto OC with
Ugh.
Godlike
20
powers.
harems and-
Yeah.
So that's the good thing that I've recently like. If your community is mature enough, they will fight back.
Yeah.
And that is the
Yeah.
only thing I love. Like I love dearly about the Song of Ice and Fire community is that we've generally kept the retardation to a minimum. We've kept the.
I'm so glad you said that because of our next story.
Fuck you. Fuck you. It's Game of Thrones almost certainly. So
Yes.
fuck you. Okay? Show watchers do not count. They are mouth breathing, knuckle dragging. There's words I can't use on Twitch
Oh boy.
because they are so stupid. Okay? One might even
Uh,
call them not human.
Angry Mexican is always great to hear.
Fuck you too, man.
But no, I don't disagree with you. It's unfortunate how when you open up your series to a greater audience, you'll get a lot more of the shit. It's kind of like how when you open up a
A Discord
floodgate.
server?
I was gonna say a floodgate, but yeah, sure, that's gonna
Okay.
you're not just getting water. You're getting everything else that's settled in that water.
Yeah, no. That's very
And
true.
the fish.
It's yes, and the fish. But I think it really boggles my mind sometimes when I see the ideas that come out of these fanfiction authors. Like the crossovers are generally not good ideas.
No,
I think crossovers should
crossovers
be
I can
limited-
understand. I can
No,
understand
I just mean-
the source of
I just
bad.
mean like generally crossovers 9 times out of 10 they're really a bad idea.
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying though, is I can understand it, however, because a lot of people have the initial reaction when it comes to a crossover, in that this is a cool thing. Oh, wouldn't it be cool if X character met X character? But they don't
If
really...
Sasuke Uchiha went to see Ruby and he fucks everybody up and he fucks everyone. Isn't
Yeah.
that so cool? Holy shit, man. I
well,
just
and
want to
here's the
see him
thing.
use his
Yes,
Mangekyou
yes.
Sharingan.
Here's the thing. There are some things where someone goes, wouldn't it be cool if X happened, right? Like, what if Geralt fought Superman? Sure, that could be interesting.
Or, you know, the classic really good one, which was, fucking, what was it? It was Geralt ends up in, was it Monster Hunter? That's what it was. That Monster Hunter even
that's a
canonized. Yeah.
That's a great one, actually.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter canonized it. It was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are
Yeah.
ones that it can be good. So generally, like all the Mass Effect and Halo crossovers are generally decent, actually. Some can be cringe,
Yeah.
but generally
Yeah.
they're at least decent. Oh, this is the thing though. Like before Andromeda,
They
the Mass
die
Effect fandom.
so hard though.
Oh
They
yes,
died,
yes,
but that's because
yes.
people didn't consider the logical ramifications. Of
Right,
what they were
exactly.
doing.
And that's the downfall of most crossovers, is that you get to a certain point where you achieve what you wanted to achieve in terms of the crossover, and then you go, oh wait, shit, how the fuck am I supposed to handle this? Unrolls list of issues, and
Oops,
it's
I still have
that
to-
gag.
How am I supposed to end this?
It's that
Oh, one
gag
of my
where
favorites is
you
the
look at
the
like
Fallout one.
oh yeah, they by Urt the King.
I think that's the one. Is it?
Yeah,
There's two of them that are super long.
From the
Fallout
Ashes?
And, yeah, there's From the Ashes.
yep, yeah.
And then
Urt
there's
the
the
King.
other one.
Yeah.
One of them's way better than the other.
Yes.
If I'm not remembering correctly.
Now,
But-
Urt the King is actually a great example of a author who took criticism and then got significantly better over time.
Yes, you can see it in the writing, man.
Yes, yeah. Especially, it really helps that the reason why you can see it so well is that his stories run for so fucking long.
That's true. Yeah, it's true. It's true. There's tons of authors that are good.
Mm.
They're good authors out there, and a lot of times they're just like sprinkled through a fandom. There's one or two of them, and of course they're only working on like one or two. That's another thing. Authors who start too many, and just get bogged down in that.
Oh,
That can
speaking
always
of
be a
which,
problem.
I was really hoping that Arn would be here because I have the most cursed fucking story in existence to share with him. It
Oh,
is.
boy.
Let's see.
I don't know. You say that, but then we find another, and it's worse.
No, you don't understand. Hemophilia, based on It's in the Blood by Sakura Demon Alchemist by Quartermass.
Oh,
It is.
fuck.
It is the multi-layered cursed story.
Ooh,
By the way, I
that's
think one of my favorite things that we've ever had happen is when we occasionally get authors on here who will read something and it goes inspired by blank, and they're like, "Oh no, oh no, this is trash.
Oh no.
Oh, this is my fault."
I'd love to get some of the who's the other guys who run a fanfiction podcast? Fandom Flux guys.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them on this.
Oh,
To
see,
shit on horror.
the issue is that we need numbers. We need at least like 100 concurrent viewers at least before we
To
try
get
to
those
approach.
dudes.
Yeah, before we try to
Yeah.
approach other guys and be like, hey, do you want to come on here? Because it's one thing to be like, oh yeah, no, we only got like 150 concurrent viewers, but it's like 150 Twitch viewers for a fan fiction talk show is pretty significant, all things considered.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that.
But going to them and being like, yeah, hey, we got like 15 viewers. Hey, you want to do a crossover episode?
Yeah, trying to get Kenshi to get on that. Like
Yeah, no. It
Kenshi's
won't
one of
work.
those authors that you really can tell
Yeah.
how much he's changed over the years.
Oh yeah. Well, he also does write a lot of stories too. So
He's got like 3 going right now, but like,
Thank you, Isley.
what did Isley say?
Yeah, Isley gave me $3.
Oh, good job, Isley.
But yeah, no,
But yeah.
you can definitely tell there's authors out there that genuinely like writing and they like improving on their writing.
Yeah.
But that's actually ties into the original statement of like, oh, the authors are just writing because it's a hobby and they just like writing. They don't need to improve. And it's like, well, why wouldn't you? If you're gonna spend if your hobby is, say, building Gunpla, would you not want to get better at building Gunpla because it's your hobby and you're doing it because you enjoy it? So you would want to
even,
get
like-
better at it, so then you can be like, yeah, look at this amazing, like, perfect grade plus that I put together and then painted using like a 5 bristle brush and a magnifying glass. Look how great the detail is on it. So you can fucking parade this shit around and be like, yeah, I spent like $700 on this, but look how amazing it looks.
Yeah,
And-
Actually,
or like,
you know, if you're saying you spent $700, you paid someone to do that for you.
yeah.
but
Well,
you get my point though, Max. Is that
but
it?
any hobby is that, and I don't get people who are like, yeah, I mean, like, I don't need to get. I just it annoys me
Well,
when people are like on it.
no. To be fair, if you're playing like say tennis or soccer as just a hobby, like you're not like going out and be like, yeah, I gotta play this,
Okay, but do you play with any competitiveness when
True.
you play those games? Like, is there
True.
not? Are you literally like, yeah, I'm just here to like work out a little bit? Okay, go be on the fucking treadmill. Other
Yeah.
people, if you're playing soccer with other people, it's about enjoying like the competitiveness and like
Yeah,
also
having
working
fun.
out. That's great. I'm
Yeah.
happy if you work out. But like, if you're gonna go, like, be a team, do that like team building shit where you build bonds with people. Like, that's the reason you go play those games.
The
That's
only
the reason.
exception to that is like going to the gym and working out, because there are some people who are like, I spend every day working out, and it's like, okay, you need to stop.
I agree generally, but those people are also like, I know a lot of recovering addicts.
Recovering gym addicts.
Well, no, recovering
No,
addicts.
he means actual addicts,
Oh.
and they fill the void with the gym, which is an entirely different thing.
Which I mean,
Yeah.
that's to be fair, that's a good way of getting around addiction. Yeah.
Or it's I think there's an old Stewie Griffin clip where he's just like, yeah, now I lift weights for Jesus, and he's like, you want some crack? He's like, fucking yes, please, please.
So anyway, let's quickly run through this story so we can get to watching the Mexican screech at the top of his lungs as he tries to desperately punch someone through a computer screen.
I'm not Mexican, guys. God damn it.
You're Mexican now.
I'm not. Fuck
Yes!
I'll never be
And
that.
high five!
You don't
Listen,
understand how
we
much
got
my people
artificial
hate
quotas to
Mexicans.
we got artificial quotas to fill.
Yes, I
sign-
work for that. I'm many different quotas for you. Okay, I'm pretty sure you don't have any Italians. I'm pretty sure you don't have any.
Hey, fuck
brownies.
you!
He is technically Italian. Distantly, somewhere in the past, a small chunk of Italy actually
Significantly
broke
Italian,
itself-
thank you very much.
Significantly, a small chunk of Italy was sheared off to make sure his family went to the new land.
Look, it's a really interesting tale to listen to all of my family members talk about why X part of the family has been banished from X country.
I like that it's.
In case anyone was ever wondering, yes, it is genetic.
Yeah, I love that it's genetic. It's great.
My favorite
It's-
part is
great.
your family line will eventually run out of countries right as we open up space colonization.
Oh, see, that's silly. The Jews haven't run out. There's no way we could.
Sneaky.
What? I'm just
Is he
saying.
wrong?
If an entire
Well,
ethnic subsect,
Actually,
If
the
an
Jews just decided to
entire-
make their own country.
And
that's what
now
Sneaky's
we're
gonna
off
do.
Twitch.
look, if an entire ethnic subset cannot get thrown out of all of the countries, I'm pretty sure my significantly smaller family, by a quadratic logarithmic amount,
But see,
won't get
here's
thrown
the
out of all the
counterpoint to that,
countries.
it's way easier to kick a family out.
Oh, that's fair.
Hey, you know what you got to do? You know what's going to happen eventually? It's colonization is going to happen, right?
We're gonna claim
I mean,
Mars.
space colonization, and Sneaky will claim Sneakytopia, and
Oh,
thus the Sneaky
listen,
line will continue as
Thinking
the
I'm gonna
dictators.
thinking I'm gonna call it Sneakytopia. No, bitch, Outer Heaven. Let's go.
But listen, this is something I've
No.
always said, right? Whenever they start offering like colonists to go into space, I will be like the first person to sign up for janitor on the Mars colony. Because do you know what's gonna happen? They'll be like, that one dude volunteered to clean all the air ducts on Mars, he gets to go. And guess what? 150 years from now, when there's that statue of the people who settled Mars,
You'll be
no
on the
one's
statue.
gonna be like, right? They're not gonna like write everybody's position down on there. And even if your family's like, yeah, he was just a janitor, they're gonna be like, but he was still one of the first 200 people to live on Mars.
Yeah, that's true. Fair enough.
And more than that, you're probably going to have some fucking amazing benefits.
Well, yeah, like that's the other thing, right? Like we
And
were
no
one of the
one's
first
gonna want to
200 people
piss
on
you
Mars.
off because you fix all the air ducts.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
yes,
sounds
that
like
too.
the plot to a really bad hentai, actually.
What?
What?
No,
Yeah, it'll be
no,
the-
no, no,
Look, my
no,
brain is
no,
always-
X,
my brain is
no,
always fucked up.
cease,
Murder
denied,
mystery,
no,
and you took it to
ending it here, finito.
Right, we're gonna move on to the fact that, like, when it comes time to claim, like, Martian estates, they'll be like, you're only the janitor, so you only get to claim a
4
50-kilometer
acres.
plot.
Or whatever.
Yeah,
Like 4
it's
acres.
like, I still have
Yeah,
it, and
it's
then
like
when everybody
getting-
else shows up, it's like, this is mine because I was here first.
Well, there's like millionaires from the first people who worked at Walmart because they got shares in Walmart
Yeah.
and shit.
It-
I'm pretty
no,
sure there's a bunch of Microsoft employees who are millionaires now, based
Yeah,
just on the fact that they worked at
there are
Microsoft when it started.
Yeah, there's point in
secretaries.
times where certain companies went like really close to collapsing, and so they paid their employees in shares instead of actual like salary. And sure, yeah, some employees were like, "Fuck that, no, I need money," but other employees were like, "Nah, hold up, I think this can work." And now they're just literally able to live for the rest of their lives without ever working a day because they just have so much shares in a company that the dividends they make basically allow that.
And then you get like, and then a fucking stock split happens, and I end up with more shares.
Yeah.
Well, see, and then the way the way that things accelerate crazily from there is, right, you get your family, and you're like, okay, so these kids get it, right? That's as much as people complain about the accumulation of wealth, that is literally how it happens, right? Like, one group or family or whatever makes just enough that they can ensure that one or two members of their family doesn't have to do anything, and that family stays alive, doesn't do anything stupid, and then this is where the real test comes in.
The accumulation of wealth is a commonly disproven idea, though, because within 1 to 2 generations past the person who originally made the wealth, there's something like 95% of families lose that wealth.
I was
Or
about
they
to say,
move out of the
that's-
bracket that they were in. That's
Yeah.
a big thing. Like in America, moving up and down is really common. Like super common. People to move like from the middle class to like maybe low upper class, and then like from the lower class a little bit to the upper middle class. Like shit like that does happen a lot in America.
well, I
Where
would
they
say,
go from being go ahead.
the entire point of, right, do you guys know what the definition of old money is?
Of course,
Old money
yeah.
is 3 generations.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah. Because most families lose the money by that point. So anyone who's made it that far means their family is actually capable of handling investments.
I was gonna say, it either means their family's capable of handling investments, or they made such a phenomenal, right? Like, look at Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
That man has lost several fortunes. Yes, he's made several fortunes, but that's only because his family was in a financial position where he was able to screw it up like 5 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, is when you have the money to make more money, you can screw it up 5 times, because if you succeed 6 times, you'll still be positive.
Exactly.
And more importantly, you've got enough wealth that even though you've screwed it up 5 times, it's like, I guess we're down to 2 mansions.
Oh, no.
Oh no, we're down to a house and the lake house.
Indeed.
You know what?
The lake house is only 13,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
the thing people don't get though, because like once you get to a certain level, it's just like, all right, I'll sell off one of my mansions.
Well, as
Or
a number of,
Elon Musk just casually buying an entire development.
yeah, well, no, but it's like there reaches a certain point where enough wealth has been acquired that, like, when like economic downturns happen in certain rich areas of California, the only thing that changes is the names on the houses.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yep.
Right? Like, this is the neighborhood of the ultra wealthy, and at the very top of this hill, sometimes it's a literal hill in California, sometimes it's only a metaphorical hill. That's where the guy who's doing the hottest at this moment lives,
Yeah.
because he can afford the $240
there.
million house, and then an economic slump happens, and he moves 30 houses down to the end of the road, right? He's still in the ultra-rich development. He's still in the club. But somebody else who was shorting whatever he was doing is like, aha, now I am at the top of the castle. And
Yeah.
they might
So the
stay
thing
there
is-
for
And
a week,
and it just depends on the
day.
person.
Well,
So there's
yeah.
people I know who are ultra rich, but they live in a great neighborhood, right, for whatever city they live in, but they don't go out to California, put their fucking like their
if
business
I
is
ever
here.
ended up with
Their
a
shit
shit
is
ton of
here.
money,
Oh yeah.
no one would ever fucking hear from me again. Like, I would just be like, all right,
Exactly.
well, I'm gonna go buy a shit ton of land out in like one of the Dakotas, probably South
Yeah.
Dakota, because the South Dakota is way more woke than North Dakota. But I'll buy a shit ton of land somewhere and just basically build a fucking fortress and then just never leave. Just get all my food delivered, everything I ever needed delivered, and even if they don't deliver, they'll fucking deliver because I have the money to say deliver.
Well, yeah. At that point, like, if we're talking like ultra wealthy, like, I know there are people who are ultra wealthy. They just don't fucking go around. Like, it just depends on the person. Yeah, there are people who like get caught up in that LA lifestyle and fucking Beverly Hills lifestyle. But that's not really how you're gonna keep your money. Like, that's
Ray gun.
literally
No, the best way to keep your money, you know what you do, right? Like, as a hypothetical, right? I win the lottery.
Right.
I get
Yeah.
$10 million. And you know what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to spend some money on a
Hookers and
nice condo somewhere outside Chicago so the rent isn't freaking absurd.
Mhm.
And then you shove the remaining 75% into stocks, safe stocks, real estate, and then you go, okay, this is what I do for the rest of my life. And then you get kids and you tell them, you see what I've done?
Don't
Do
fuck
that.
it up.
You'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. So there's a lot of people who just like, I know there's a guy here in North Carolina that he won the lottery one time, and basically he gave it all to his wife. Essentially, she blew it all, and then
Yeah.
he won it again. And he's like, this time I'm keeping all that money. He says,
Yeah.
I'm gonna work it on it. And it's like, yeah, don't go to fucking Vegas and blow it out. Or if you're gonna, so this is the thing I don't get. Like, if you're gonna go to Vegas to
Right.
celebrate, right?
Yeah.
Have some fucking limit.
Well, see,
Well,
this is what I never
Believe it
understood.
or not,
So,
that's actually the single most common problem with the lottery is not actually stupid people winning it, right? There are plenty of highly intelligent people that are, for whatever reason, living in a trailer park, whether it's misfortune or they can't seem to hold down a job, whatever, right? And they'll win the lottery. And then the big issue isn't that these people are dumb. It's that they don't know how to handle money. And
right.
so their friends come to them and they go, I've got a business idea and I need some money. Or their family comes to them and they say, I really need some money, right? And they're like, I've got plenty. And so they give it away and they give it away and they give it away and they give it away. And then suddenly they're back in a trailer park.
Yeah.
Yep.
True fact.
At this point, I've like thought through every possible
You can do it. I believe in you.
Permutation?
situation if I were to win the lottery. At that point, I'm gone. Like, I have a certain set of family that I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And those people
there's
will
a
be taken
certain
care
part
of.
of family that gets money, and there's a certain part of family where it's, I will give them X amount, and I will take care of X problems, and then I will be like, never call me with the words, I need money again.
So, like, a lot of the people, the adults in my family don't get along. But, like, if I were to set up, like, a college fund for one of their kids, because the kid is innocent, yeah. I'll put $100K into some kid's college fund, and then make sure he goes to college, right? To do, like,
if you
something
ever
with
use the
his
words
life.
white privilege, I'm removing your college fund.
That'll never happen. Trust me. My family's too woke for that, right? Everybody in my family is woke, except for like one cousin, and she's like an idiot. Okay, well, two cousins. One is an idiot, and one is How would I say
hippie?
this? Yes,
Oh,
he's a
God.
hippie. She's literally like one of those people who's a hippie. But even she's woke to a degree. Like everybody in my family is woke to some degree. It's the funniest shit you'll ever see. We all look eclectic and weird together, though, too. Because, like, one half the family is, like, super white,
Like,
and
you
then
get
one
a
half's, like, super brown.
Of course that. I was gonna say, here's the other thing, right? You get the family, right? You get a kid, right? I would also be like equitable in how I distribute it because like I've got two sets of nephews who are only 4 years younger than myself and my brother, right? versus I've got a set of nephews who's like 50, who are 16 and 18 years younger than my brother and I, respectively, right? They get a much smaller college fund because they have a chance for that thing to mature.
Yeah.
Versus the ones who are a senior in high school and a freshman in college, right?
Well,
I go to them. You get X amount, just flat X amount. Go to college. I don't care. You're old enough.
so
to
if it's like
decide.
a teenager already, if it's kid's a teenager, I'll sit down with them and be like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you actually want to do? And if the kid has a decent plan for it, I mean, I don't have a problem funding that. But they have to have like some sort of plan in place, something, you know? And I would always I'm a person who always encourages like, hey, go to fucking technical school. You don't have to go to college.
Honestly, yeah, technical
Unless you
community colleges and technical schools is definitely things that need to be done more.
Dude. And if you go to one and you stay there and you get good grades, man, fuck it, man. I'll make sure you're living decently, you know?
Yeah.
Obviously, like, you know, I'm not going to say I'll put you up in the best apartment in whatever city you're in, but I'm going to make sure you're not in the worst part of town. I'm going to make sure you're, you know, at least eating at college, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like people just see, like,
trade schools,
fucking explode with their money. Like, they can't even hold it in their pocket for too long. Burning a hole in your pocket.
That is what my mother gets incredibly like frustrated yet relieved at me about, because she distributes money occasionally to assuage her guilt.
Oh, this is wonderful! I love to hear redistributing money to the
but she'll give it
people.
to me and my sister. And whenever I visit her, because you know she is my mother, she'll be like,
she gives you money. Let's be clear, you would never visit her otherwise.
More or less. And, you know, no. To be fair, even my mother's acknowledged this. Even my mother has acknowledged that. Like, I do pretty much only visit her because she is trying to make an effort here. But she's like, I can always count on you, Sneaky, to be financially responsible enough to actually save the money I give you. Because my sister's bank account's, like, always in the triple digits. Even though she's working a job that pays way more than mine. Because whenever she gets money, she spends it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, whenever I get money...
bad about that.
Whenever I get money, I'm just like, do I really need a bed?
No, I'm not scared to spend money. It's just I know.
Well, I'm not scared to spend money either. It's just I'm very, very selective on what I spend my money on, and that is something that my mother ended up actually doing for me, which I was actually surprised by. She was like, "Oh my god, for the love of God, I will buy whatever fucking bed you want. Just buy a bed," because I had gone 3 years at that point without having a bed.
I was so mad at you. You had the money for a bed too. I was like, no, because here's the problem. He would complain about how he couldn't get good sleep or whatever.
Oh my god, you bitch!
And I'm like, buy a bed, you bitch. I know you have the money.
But I'm just like, will I really be here in the long term? Is buying a bed
Yes, you will,
worth
because
it?
you refuse to leave, even though I have offered you a way out.
Yes, that is true. But you know, that's the thing, though. Is I'm always like, okay, well, do I really need to acquire X item? Because how long will I actually be here? I don't know. And so I'll go for, you know, months with only having one cookware, because
Hot take. Eating at home is the cheapest thing ever.
It's not a hot take. That's a known fact, you idiot.
Eating out is so stupid most of the time.
I don't understand. I honestly, I do not understand eating out. I can understand being like, you know, I really want some, you know, X hard to cook food like sushi or some shit like that, like, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I can understand going out and getting some sushi, like, you know, maybe once every couple of months or something. But like, I'm talking to my coworkers and they're like, "Oh man, I really miss eating out. I used to do it every day." I'm like, "What the fuck? What the?"
I actually ate out more during quarantine than I did before, but that was only because there are local restaurants that I'm like, no, I like this place and I want them to have money.
So yeah, we did a couple of places like that. Like we would go, they're like local places, and we'd go and order shit like breakfast from them because they're good, and we want them to stay open. And generally, they're cheap. That's a big
Yeah.
part of it too. Like if you're eating for yourself, it's always generally pretty cheapish.
Well, no, that really
like-
depends on the restaurant and where you
Yeah,
are.
that depends on the restaurant. But like, okay, I can never get like great, authentic Colombian food, and there's one place that I've gone to here in Charlotte that has great, authentic Colombian food, relatively cheap if you go at lunch because they have like a special,
right,
and all of their specials are good,
right.
and it's like $8 for a meal and a drink, and free refills.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm generally like that. That's not bad for me. You know what I mean?
There's a restaurant that's maybe 10 minutes from my house. The food isn't the best, right? Let's be clear. It's not the best. But it's pretty good, right? I can get a 16-inch pizza for $14.
That's not bad.
No. And the pizza in and of itself, it's good pizza, right? Is it the best pizza? No. But it's pretty good pizza. It's 10 minutes from my house, and that's a nice-sized pizza.
Yeah.
Their burgers...
It's just people... It seems like...
Oh, no, burgers especially. I cannot comprehend going out to eat burgers. Like, I sort of get it. Like, some places make really good burgers, but they're usually like...
Well, if there's like a super unique burger in a city that I'm going to visit,
the reason
I'll go get it.
When I go out to eat a burger, it's because I'm not willing to make a burger at my house. That's why when I go out to eat a burger.
Oh yeah, if you're going out to like Five Guys is a pretty good
they
place
used to be good.
go
No, they used
hang
to
out.
be good. They fell.
Here in North Carolina and South Carolina, they're still great.
I would say, here's the big problem, right? I don't understand people who are like, I'm gonna eat a frozen burger. All frozen burgers are fucking garbage.
Yeah, pretty garbage. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can't really fight you on that. I eat frozen burgers constantly, but I also don't just eat frozen burgers. Like I put fucking pickles on it. I put hot sauce on it. I put some bacon, cheese. I'll put an egg on it sometimes to make a breakfast burger. Like it just qualifies for the meat portion of it.
Yeah, but like that's what I'm saying, right? Like if I'm gonna eat burgers at home, I'm gonna buy a pound of ground beef because Aldi sells pounds of ground beef dirt cheap, and I will go.
Aldi's the fancy place to go around around my side of town.
Oh no, legit, my family we switched to Aldi and we save, I don't know, probably.
I hate Aldi.
Depending on the week, we save.
They're a bunch of fucking pricks up here.
$80 to $100 a week.
It depends. We always have a problem with our eggs at Aldi. Like I think like 7 times we've had problems getting eggs from Aldi, and we just prefer to go to the like local what is that place called?
Grocery store, whatever it is, right?
No, not grocery store. Like we have
Market?
a lot of
Walmart?
like
Walmart?
no. Farmers markets, goddamn it.
Yeah,
we have a lot of farmers markets that do good shit down here, and we go to them. Like we'll get like a case of 24 eggs because we run through eggs in my family, and that's is generally like $2 or $3 for that.
Yeah, that's what I really love about the Costco up here. I haven't checked other Costcos, but the Costco up here sells eggs 9 dozen for $6.
Damn, that's not bad.
So I'm just like, all right, yeah. So I'm fucking.
Yeah, I
eggs.
love like egg salad sandwiches. I like fucking fried eggs. I like fucking every type of egg in the book.
I'll make some omelets. I'll make
omelets, man. Yeah. I'll make some French toast. I'll make something out of it, dude. Yeah. I'll bake.
He's allergic to eggs.
Oh, poor
that
Greg.
sucks. That fucking sucks, man. Eggs are the bomb.
But like, listen, we get the pounded ground beef, and it's like, all right, we can make like 8 burgers out of this. You get some ketchup. You get some breadcrumbs. You get
what
some
type of burgers
salt.
we doing?
80-20s?
Like smash burgers?
90-20? 90-10s? What
we do 90-10.
90-10.
We do 90-10.
Oh, I prefer 80-20 Give more flavor, man.
It depends. It really depends on where your source is.
Salt are for.
Fair enough, yeah.
Oh, okay. Question: Do you hit it with seasoned salt before or after it's on the
fold it
on the what's it called?
I hit it before, yeah. Yeah, I fold
it breaks down too easy in my opinion. I like it as it's on the burner.
Here's the thing. You can solve that easy with breadcrumbs.
True. But no, what I do is, right, so I take like a larger flat roll, and I will heavily season the inside of it with like garlic and salt and peppers and lemon juice and whatnot, and then I'll fold it over sort of like an omelet and then cook that as a burger. Because
Oh my god, okay. Toasting buns. Please tell me you do that.
Obviously,
No.
you toast buns.
Nope.
Toasting buns is the best thing to do for a burger. Holy shit, dude.
I generally don't.
Why?
Here's the thing. Because I'm the kind of guy, I eat toast burnt. I don't want a burnt burger bun. Don't.
Sometimes I'll cook it Philly style. But it really depends when
that's
I'm.
a little bit different.
Yeah, well, it really depends on what I'm putting on the burger, though. If I'm making eggs to put on the burger, I'll cook it Philly style.
I don't know. I like actually having the, because I like to have a lot on my burger. I like lettuce, tomatoes, onions. Right. I like pickles. I like bacon. I like everything on
tomatoes,
it. Right?
I despise tomatoes.
I'll
use
tomato.
ketchup, but I despise tomatoes.
I get that. I just like a good. So my thing is, people cut their tomatoes too thick. You have to cut thin slices, or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I usually use like Roma tomatoes. I don't use like big tomatoes, like the big beef. I don't like those.
Big beefer,
I like the smaller. Yeah, I don't like those. I usually do like 2 thin slices, and they just look like pickles in the end. Just big pickles comparatively. But yeah, the bun has to be toasted because I need the support.
Yeah,
and I like to.
Yeah.
I like a little bit of
I'm
mayo
guy,
and
I don't put a whole lot on my burger. I don't put a whole lot on my burger, so I can get away with that.
Oh, I love piling shit on my burger. But no,
I love piling it up.
Do you know what Philly style is?
Isn't that where you toast it only a certain way though? Like
no,
only like
yes, it is a specific way. So basically, after you're done cooking things like the meats and the eggs, specifically with the butter, you then take the
put
bun
them in there.
Yeah, you toast it using the butter and juices from the meat instead of using a toaster.
I've always done that way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was the Philly way. I just did it that way.
Yeah, if you ever order a genuine cheesesteak when you're in Philly, what they do is they cook the meat in one part of the flat oven, and then they'll shift the meat over and then drop the bun directly on top of the meat juice that was there, and so it'll soak up all the meat juice and fry it.
Toast at the same time.
Yeah. And then they'll
I love it good.
So it is by far probably one of the worst things you could do for your heart, but it's so fucking tasty.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I like
Here
burgers.
we are on Food Wars.
Yeah.
Look, see, this is actually, if you look at it in a specific way, this is actually shit you can use in a fan fiction to just generally describe. Or fiction.
Justify.
Yeah, you can absolutely justify all of the shit we talk on here, all the stories I spin. You can absolutely turn that around and turn it into how you can tell a narrative in your fictional story, whether it's fan fiction or a original story.
Here's something that people don't realize when trying to tell the time passing. Talking about food is actually pretty good for time passing and shit like that.
It is. But like you can actually get a person's personality even described a little bit in the kinds of foods they eat, how they talk about the foods, what they're doing while they're cooking. Like, do they go out often? So are they very social? Are they not too social? So they cook themselves often.
Or do they seem at first like uncreative? But when they get into the kitchen, they're like crazy about like the stuff that they can come up with that tastes good, stuff like that. There's all sorts of things you can do with like how people treat their food, because food is a big part of how we interact with the world and how we like express ourselves culturally.
It's
come
also
on, just look at the British.
It's also a good way. Yeah, the fucking bland as shit.
I was talking about conquering the entire world to try to find spices and then going, eh.
Yeah, true. In fact, yeah.
I think the food thing with Britain is like there's 1 or 2 good things that Britain comes out with that like have blessed the world. So like a good British breakfast Pretty
Oh yeah,
fucking
you know,
baller.
hash eggs. Yeah, I'll
Aren't they the
acquiesce
ones
with
who
that,
came
yeah.
up with the first French fry? Technically,
I'm pretty sure those
You mean
Americans.
chip?
are you are you positive? I thought it was
So-
them the first who
No, no.
dipped.
See, they're called chips in Britain because they were chips of like you would chip off a potato and fry that, and that's why they were called chips because
Okay.
you just took chunks off a potato and fried them.
I thought it just started there.
No,
French
French
was made
fry.
in Belgium.
Yeah, French fry specifically was from no, because that's called a Belgium fry, also known as I think it was steak fry. French fry specifically
Steak fries are
started
pretty
in America during World War II, I believe. World War One or World War II. And I believe in New York City specifically. I don't know the exact history behind
Well,
it.
like the hamburger.
Origin of the French fry has been traced back to Belgium,
Really?
where potatoes were fried in the
Okay,
late
why does
1600s.
Gray sound like he's in an 8-bit video game?
I was wondering that.
Because
Because
Gray's
I'm
been
using a
consumed by the
Wi-Fi.
void.
Rip.
How, dude? Wait, you're using a Wi-Fi?
Yes, because the router from my room to my room is through 2 walls.
Oh, you're on. Okay, you're on your Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi is shit. Because I'm here on my fucking data talking to you.
Yes, I'm using the data from my Wi-Fi device instead of the Wi-Fi from the other thing.
Rip.
Oh, okay.
Big rip.
I get you now.
And that thing is on 3 different devices because I'm playing 2 things of Fate Grand Order while I'm...
SMH.
Oh my god, you fucking weeb.
Stop playing, then.
Fuck you.
You fucking weeb.
But as I was saying, to bring it all back around before we actually continue this story and get it done with, food scenes are actually a good way of setting just the general mood of the story, the character, the main character in general, the pacing of the
I'll
story,
say
how
this.
it's going to go. You know,
J.K. Rowling did a good job at food. I'll give her that.
J.K.
No,
Rowling-
Generally,
please.
she did.
No, she
Please.
didn't.
She tried to steal from. She tried to copy Brian Jacques's like near masturbatory desire to describe food.
Wait,
And
wait,
okay.
wait, hold on a second.
No.
Hold on a fucking
There's
second.
one person.
At what
who
point in
does
time
food
did J.K. Rowling
like they're
ever
jerking
describe
off.
food?
Oh, she doesn't
Wasn't
really
during,
describe
like the
food.
banquets and stuff.
She doesn't really describe a lot of food. She did like make up a bunch of different types of food and candies and shit like that.
Oh
for
no,
her
that's not.
story.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like when she would try to describe like feasts or the Weasleys'
Well,
breakfasts
I was
or
gonna
whatever.
say that was
Yeah,
another part
that
of
was
it.
dumb, yeah.
But yeah, she did make up foods for her, like
Okay,
her
but
weird
yeah,
world.
but pumpkin juice is god awful. Anyone who thinks it's good should be shot.
I generally agree, but like again, she did make up something for her story, and
Yeah, I guess,
she could have just gone with something like, "Yeah, they're just drinking grape juice. They're kids. They're just drinking
Yes,
grape juice."
I'll grant
No.
you that she did, or she's
They
like,
drinking that purple.
or when she's like,
drinking
"Hey,
Kool-Aid.
look, these are magic candies, right? Like, what's
Yeah,
this
that's
do?"
the one that really felt cool to me. Was like all the different magic candies, like chocolate frogs. That's fucking genius right there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
fair enough.
because
Yeah.
it was actual world
enough.
building.
Yes, like the fact that like kids would do trading cards, but then they'd also eat sweets with them. At first, you're like, "What? Doesn't that defeat the point of like collecting trading cards?" But then you're like, "Kids are fucking stupid." Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
Oh, and only one person does masturbating to food, right? And that's George R. R. Martin.
yeah.
No, you're wrong. You have not read Redwall.
No. Oh my god. It's been. It has
If
been.
you haven't read Brian Jacques describing a Redwall feast, you don't know what someone who truly loves food is.
No, I'm sorry. You can. I'll have to
Have
look
you-
up some passages
Yeah.
for you.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Fucking. I read Redwall back in 2004. So
Which one was Redwall?
it's been a couple years.
Redwall was the series of books with like the animal-like people.
I own about half that series.
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna look up one of these, one of the great George R. R. Martin passages about food.
Anyway. Huh? I mumbled as I woke. Feeling a cold. Feeling a cold. A singular
That's,
cold. Yes.
I'm kind of cold, guys.
I feel the
I've gotta-
singular cold.
I felt a cold. One whole cold.
Yeah.
You know what? I think a germ just entered my body of a cold.
What I assumed was a table against my back. Yes, this person is currently in the gray phase of commas.
It's
Where-
it's better than the excessive semicolon phase, though.
Where the hell? I trailed off as my eyes took in the room I was in. Yes, they're just as verbose as Gray.
Where are they? They are, in fact...
Everything
in a
was
dungeon.
white. Semicolon. That is not how you use a semicolon. Wall, ceiling, floor, period. Fucking that's not how you use a semicolon. Even the clothes I was now wearing were white. The whole place reminded me
You
of
know
a
what?
hospital.
Just one,
Semicolon.
I want a mad scientist to have his clean room. Don't make it... You know what? Make the room that people wake up confused in, make it, like, bright, hot pink. So they just go, what? Where at, right? All the scrubs are hot pink, the rooms are hot pink. Make them very confused. Subvert the trope.
Indeed. The whole place reminded me of a hospital. Semicolon. If everything had been a brilliant, clear white.
Most hospitals generally are.
Clearly, you've never
Why
been to a
is this
hospital.
person using a semicolon?
In the narrative, I have no idea. Okay, this makes no sense. The last thing I remember was... I didn't know what I remembered. A group of terrorists had stormed into a market. I had been patrolling with my team and fired
Oh
indiscriminately
god, right, we're still on that thing.
into the crowd. I
Oh
remembered...
no. No Russians.
I remembered, leapt for cover, and returning fire.
Huh? What? What do you mean?
Only to
I don't-
see two of the attackers turn into a school-aged group. Ignoring my own safety, I leapt out and dived over! Over what?
Overwatch?
He just dived over something.
He dived over the can, the air, the chest-high wall, the dead people.
Trying desperately to get them to take cover, even
No.
as I felt.
He dived all the way over to them. It was a very long dive.
Oh, I also love this part here. As you can tell, this person clearly has never been shot before. Trying desperately to get them into cover as I felt 3 sharp stabs in my side. He apparently died instantly from a chest wound.
That's how that works.
I mean, depending on where he was shot, you could feel it as
I mean-
3 sharp stabs, like depending on the adrenaline and how. Like,
Yeah.
that's possible.
So, or that's just how we could describe it. How would I put it? It
Yeah.
depends on where he was hit. but
No,
he
no.
prob-
The
even-
thing is, though, is anything but the brain, basically, you're gonna live for like the next
at least
minute.
a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
even
well,
if
I'm
you
just
get
saying- well,
shot in.
Ironically, the thing that kills most people from bullets is not
The bullet.
wounds, it's actually the body going into shock because the way that bullets work, and your body going, I'm just gonna shut down, and then it forgets to wake up and you die.
Yeah, basically.
Atin, check in the channel.
No, I
you're
did. I'm
using.
trying to find one for Brian Jacques, but like, it keeps going to the Red Wall cookbook.
I have the Song of
My
Ice and
comment
Fire
was just
cookbook.
specifically about how he thinks that you instantly die from being shot, like the Hollywood movies.
The only time
Yeah.
you die instantly is if it's literally your head. Because
even
ironically
then.
enough, well, yes,
Depending.
I know, but
yeah.
That's the only one that's guaranteed to do it. Getting shot in the chest is not likely to be lethal. Oh, sure. Let's be clear. It will put you on your ass, and you will die very shortly afterwards.
I mean, not specifically. I mean,
Dude.
just watch some police footage, body cam police footage. It's all over YouTube these days now. Of people being shot, like the guy's running at them with like a machete or something, and he gets shot. Like they'll take 10, 13, 15 bullets before they go down.
Dude, there is a mainstream person in the world, like a celebrity nowadays, who's shot 9 times. Like 50 Cent was shot 9 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll still survive. Like if you get medical attention within 15 minutes, you could still survive that. Like humans are disturbingly tough to kill.
He got shot in the mouth.
Yeah.
It took out a huge row of his teeth. He got shot in the chest a couple times. I know he got shot in the hand. Shit, man. I'm trying to remember all the places this person got shot and then lived. And now he's a celebrity in the world, like around us.
I remember a Civil War general got shot straight through the brain and somehow lived.
Yeah.
Oh,
Was
no.
eventually
You
damn.
you can live by taking a headshot. It's just very, very, very chancy. Like there's a lot of shit that like the stars need to basically align.
Well, I was gonna say, it's also actually much more impressive that he survived being a Civil War general and being shot, not because of the quality of medicine, but because remember,
Those are
this
50
is gonna sound
caliber.
Weird, but bullets
They were 50 caliber bullets.
the old days
Yeah, they were big as
far
fuck.
more terrifying.
Yeah. The old muskets were 50 caliber bullets, and that was something.
They were fucking terrifying.
What the worst was when they started to make sniper rifles that still weren't using pointed bullets, right? They had rifling, but they were still using round shot. That was part
that's
of what
awful.
happened in the Civil War.
It
Yeah,
sounds like literally the worst thing in the world, if you think about it.
Devil's Den.
Yeah. No, it was the
Check out
amount
the
of shit
Gizmodo article.
a human can live
Atin.
through is disturbing. Which is why I always find Hollywood movies a little bit hilarious, where like the hero bursts in and like shoots 3 people and they all just die. Now, to be fair, your average person getting shot by, say, a 44 or a 7.62 probably is going to go down.
Even a 5.56.
Yeah, they're probably going to go down, within a couple shots at most, even if it doesn't hit them anywhere vital. The average person probably would drop to the ground. Maybe not die instantly, but would definitely fall to the ground. Either in pain or in shock, and then die as they bled out quite quickly. But I mean, there's cases of like there's a one sergeant that I constantly remember. In I forget which desert country it was, but he was deployed in the Middle East, and his squad.
Which desert country?
Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan.
No, I got you, man. I'm just.
But
joking. I thought it was funny.
His patrol was going through this canyon, and they got ambushed on both sides, and his whole patrol went down. And he not only held out long enough for a medical evacuation helicopter to show up, but he also, one by one, ran out to their positions they went down in, picked them up, and then ran over to the helicopter and put them into the helicopter for the medics to start taking care of. And they don't actually know what ended up killing him that day, because he took over 27 7.62 rounds, like not to body armor, but like flesh, 7.62 rounds to the flesh, and 7 grenades.
That's fucking crazy.
And he managed to carry his whole squad of 5 people into the helicopter and then climb in himself, and then the medics are like, they're all safe, and he's like, oh, okay, and then he dies.
I remember there's a story about this.
Like, Jesus Christ.
There's this story about this Vietnam medic, and his team was like pinned down, and a bunch of them had been hurt and wounded, and he ended up getting the Purple Heart. But this dude, he crawled around through he crawled collectively they made it out to be like around 300 yards because
Yeah.
he would crawl forward and then get someone and then have to drag them back crawling. And I think by the end, his legs had been shot up like 8 or 9 times, and he'd been hit in the hip too. But he just kept crawling around, like grabbing guys and pulling them back. Oh man, dude! Some of these people, the things people can do when they're hopped up on adrenaline and like just got that will to do
not
shit.
even. Yeah, I was gonna say iron will. Like it is literally just that human determination of I'm going to die, but before I do that, I shall accomplish this objective.
Oh man, have you guys heard the story of the it was like a Native American dude who fulfilled all of his requirements to become a war chief in World War II?
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Dude,
because he was
it's
dope.
one of the most base things I've ever heard, dude. He led a raid on horseback.
He counted coup. He captured an enemy.
Yeah, who he beat with his fists only.
Yeah.
He led a raid. He stole the enemy's horse. Was another one. He stole a bunch of horses.
I was gonna say, and
Um,
the only reason he got away with that was because Germans were sentimentalists. They would have
like,
had
yeah, he did
horses
it.
otherwise.
Yeah, but like he's like he actually became a fucking war chief in World War II. Like imagine that. Like he fulfilled all of the specifications to become one. It's one of the better. Or have you ever guys heard of Joseph Byerly?
I have not.
Is that the
Okay,
guy
Joseph-
that was the
Well,
spy?
I might have when I hear about him.
Yeah. Was
Okay,
that the
so
spy?
he was the what?
Was that the spy?
No. He was a American in World War II. Before D-Day happened, or he signed up for the 101st Airborne Division. But before D-Day happened, he was really good at paratrooping. So they sent him with a bunch of gold to France to pay off one of the resistance groups there. And so he did a covert landing in France and then came back. And then did the 101st Airborne landing, right? He blew up a German power station, got caught when he was going down, he jumped out really low, which is what happened to a lot of the 101st guys. Ended up stuck on a church, got down, blew up the power station, tried to link up, and then got captured because he slid in, like going through the hedgerows and shit. He slid into like a German foxhole.
Ooh.
So at the POW camp, he ends up escaping twice, and then one time he was almost bombed he almost got blown up by the Allies that were just bombing up a German supply chain. And since he was a part of it, he almost got blown up. They move him all the way to the east, to like one of the prison camps closer to like East Prussia, like on that side of the war. He ends up breaking out there, gets on a train, figures out that the train is going to Berlin. They get captured again. This time, the 2 guys that were with him when he got captured die. They get out. He gets out again, and this time he heads east. Luckily, he links up with the Soviet army. They treat his wounds, right? And then he's like, "Can I fight with you guys?" And then he ends up enlisting essentially in the Soviet army, pushing against Berlin again. So he gets wounded again, and then like Zhukov hears about it, and Zhukov goes and talks to him.
Well, I was gonna say, there's just
And
so
then-
many crazy nonsensical things that
Yeah,
happen
like
in
there's
World War II.
Wait,
it's not
There's
Bunker
the
Hill.
finish.
There's the best finish though, right?
Right.
The best finish is since he was missing, the Germans took his dog tags and they used it as this dumb operation to try and fake as a German, as an American, and like fuck with their logistics, right? So they used his dog tags. So when they found out that this person, whoever took his dog tags to act as an American, was not an American, and they shot him and then checked his dog tags and then looked up Joseph Byerly, they were like, "Oh, he must have died," and they just took his body. So they held his funeral. So after he was wounded on the Soviet front, they sent him back to America eventually, right? And then he got married to his high school sweetheart in the same church that his funeral happened, like 5 months before. Dude was a fucking baller, man.
Okay,
Imagine getting married in the place you had your funeral.
the British guy with the sword is old news. There's some
Oh,
crazy
yeah,
stories
Mad
out of
Jack
World War
Churchill.
II. Like the one guy who managed to take a bunker hill, uh, because he was fucking insane. There was so much wild shit that came out of World War II, of just sheer determination winning the day.
Yeah,
Or
there was a lot of that.
wild fuckery.
Or that
Yeah,
one
wild fuckery
guy
also.
who got surrounded on all sides, but there was a MG42 operational in the
Excuse me.
tank that had been blown up next to him, and so he climbs into this tank that it's burning and shit, and he just keeps firing the MG42 at the advancing Germans, and he holds them off long enough because he's been shot multiple times, so he's like, I'm gonna die anyway. So he's in this burning tank, bleeding out, using this MG42 as it's overheating and shit's exploding all around him, and the Germans resort to retreating and then bombing the area that he's in, and that doesn't kill him, and they try to advance again, and he guns them all down again, so they try to bomb the area again, and he's still not dying, and then finally the Allies show up and he dies. Finally. And he got like 52 Germans that day, and it was just like, what the fuck?
Oh, there's like the story of the
one of my
guy.
personal favorites was during the Battle of the Bulge, there was a German tank crew who they were ordered to abandon their tank, and I'm sorry, the Germans were under standing orders that they were not to abandon their tank unless it was on fire, because tanks were so valuable and they had great engineers. So if they could get the tank through the battle, it was usually salvageable and repairable, right?
Mhm.
And so this was one of the tanks rushing to try to stop the American breakthrough, and Patton had posted a bunch of anti-tank guns just on the road in the dirt, right? And just basically said, you see a tank, take a pot shot. Maybe you'll get lucky, right?
Yeah.
Well, these guys did get lucky, but they got lucky with their tracer flare. So all they did was knock this tank's my god, I can't think. They knocked its tread off.
Oh
But-
shit. Okay.
So the tank can't move.
Yeah.
And I believe it was a stug, so they didn't have a turret that they could transverse. But so they can't leave. And so this relatively small anti-tank gun is just plinking away at their stug, and they can't leave because their stug's not on fire.
Oh my fucking god.
So they're just sitting there as their tank just gets shelled, and they're just waiting and
Till they
waiting.
die.
No, they don't.
So-
Eventually the ammo hopper catches, and they're like, okay, now we can get out.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
They were like,
We will not
"We
leave."
remember sitting in there. Come on, hit the ammo already."
Honestly, I honestly really loved Band of Brothers. They told an excellent story, and just how they paced it was amazing, and how they
Band of Brothers
portrayed.
was so fantastic, especially because it was
Yeah.
so true.
Well, yeah,
Dude,
the whole thing was true.
Same
yeah.
way. I feel the same way about Saving Private Ryan. Like the two guys that the Americans shoot up that
Mhm.
run out of the what's called, they're speaking Czech. They're Czech POWs who
Mhm.
just wanted to surrender.
Right.
And he shakes his head at it, but it's even sadder when you think about it because they're fucking Czechs.
Right.
Like they didn't want to fight for the Germans. They were pressed into service.
But with Band of Brothers, there was oh my god, I've watched that series so fucking much. It is such an
Band of
amazing
Brothers is
series.
really good.
But there's a lot of scenes in that really told you what kind of shit was going on during World War II, like the cigarette scene.
Oh god, for me it was the artillery scene.
Oh, that too.
That's
That
true,
the foxholes.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah. No, but specifically after the artillery scene, where the sergeant runs through the whole town and no one shoots at him because they're like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?"
Oh, that entire description of just that entire event was my favorite thing ever to exist.
I didn't think I think the Germans didn't shoot at him because they had no idea what was
Have
going
you-
on.
Have you guys watched the other, like the Pacific series?
I tried to watch
It's
it.
not as good.
It wasn't
It's
as
still
good.
quite good though.
Yeah, it wasn't as good. Definitely didn't catch me as well as Band of Brothers did.
I get that.
Um,
There's one, so they didn't tell this story, I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly. There's a story, I think it was on Okinawa, where when they do like the final bonsai attack with like fucking sharpened bamboo and shit, there's this like when the first line gets pulled back or gets overrun, and then they hit the second, and then they hit like the like first aid stations and shit like that, the field hospitals. There's a sergeant who's like, I think he was wounded beforehand, and so like people pick him up to take him out to like move the wounded, right? And the two guys who do that die,
right,
and so he's like, just don't move me. He's like, give me a cigarette and a pistol,
right,
and
yeah.
they prop him up against
Oh
the
yeah,
tree.
that guy. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Him.
and they found 11 dead bodies, the pistol emptied, and the cigarette smoked down.
Yeah.
Well, my
He's a
favorite part
fucking
about that
boss.
was the Japanese left the katanas there. They're like, he earned that.
Yep.
Yeah, he earned it. What a fucking Chad, though. Like, yeah, just leave me. At that point, just leave me. I know there's a doctor at that, or like he was a dentist originally,
Yeah.
and then when he signed up, they made him like a field doctor, and trained him as one. And I think when his patients got overrun, he picked up a pistol, started fighting, and then eventually pushed out, and like he got on top of I think it was a Humvee, and
In
was
what?
using the. It's not like a like a Jeep.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
It's
sir,
a Jeep, not a.
There were no. Oh my God! Can you imagine how the Germans would have shat bricks if we had fucking Humvees?
Like modern Humvees, yeah, that'd be fucking. They'd like be terrified. But like, he got up on a Jeep with a 50 cal on it, and, like, that's where they found him. Like, the next day when they came back, and the just enemy dead around him as he had died though. He eventually ran out of ammo for his fucking like it was an MG.
I gotta say, Rising Storm, probably one of the most terrifying moments was definitely when you were walking through a forest and suddenly you just hear the shout of 10 plus people screaming bonsai, and you're just
Oh,
like,
shit.
oh,
Lordy.
we have lost.
Yeah, it's over. Dude, imagine 500 dudes screaming bonsai as they like run at you
Yeah,
with their
no,
shirts off and shit. Some of
yeah.
them don't even have weapons. Some are just running at you. Some have weapons. Some have fucking bamboo sticks
it's
and
in
shit.
the end why we ended up using the nuclear bombs and why we were right to do
Yeah.
so, because
Dude,
taking
yeah.
those
Because like
islands
there's
from the
still photos.
Japanese was just
Oh, first off, there would probably be like the North Island, Honshu, I think it is,
yeah,
would probably be a Soviet puppet state.
yeah.
Then there's also the fact that
Hokkaido.
yeah, Hokkaido. Thank you for that. What was I gonna say? Oh, then there's these photos of the kids like training with bamboo sharpened stick, and it's like, yeah, you really want to subject a generation to having to like bomb a bunch of kids, kill a bunch of like more than normal
Right.
that
yeah.
happens in warfare, right?
Well,
Because
okay,
up until then,
to be fair though, America, unlike every other country, was just like, yeah, guys, we're entering total war mode, and every other country's like, what the fuck's total war mode? And that's like, that's the part where civilian casualties become acceptable.
acceptable.
We channel our favorite general of all time. What? Who's your favorite general? Washington? Sherman.
Sherman. I'd say Julius Caesar also is like, kind of up there, close to Sherman. Oh yeah, did you guys see the Daughters of the Confederacy building got torched and looted?
I know. That was disappointing. I honestly, I hate it when.
I don't like the Daughters of the Confederacy.
No, they shouldn't be torched.
At the same time,
Yeah.
all that historical memorabilia, but I did, of course, post the Sherman meme.
Yes, of course, the mandatory
Sherman
meme.
approves.
Sherman
would
approves.
approve. I might not approve, but Sherman approves.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, look, right? Like, I remember, which governor was it who was like, stop rioting for 10 hours and I'll get the fucking Civil War monument. I'll get the Confederate monument down. It's like, and they did, and he took it down. It's like, you know what? That's a good way to.
Well, I don't think we should have Confederate
stop
monuments.
people.
I think
Yeah.
they should just be in fucking what's it called. I think they should be like in museums and shit.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, that was like a rebellion that we put down. I don't think we should like
no, listen,
fillet these people.
A justified
agree with you.
rebellion, but yes. Taxation is theft.
No, I don't think it was justified in any way. They were the enemy. We put them down. We don't put up statues to fucking Japan, like to what's the guy's name? Fucking the guy who masterminded
Pearl Harbor.
fucking Pearl Harbor. Yes, Pearl Harbor. What's his name?
I don't know.
It's like a four-letter word.
You think I paid?
Togo?
Wooster?
I don't know. Tojo?
You fuck. Tojo. We don't put up monuments to Tojo. We don't put up monuments to fucking what's the guy's name? Like the Desert
Stalin?
Fox fucking
Oh.
Rommel?
no.
No, but
Rommel.
Rommel does actually deserve statues because he got murdered by Hitler for trying to kill Hitler.
Yeah.
No, I agree, but he was also like generally a Nazi.
Okay, yeah, but he was like the most honorable one, and he like respected Pow, and he, you know,
And he was also a fucking badass general who
Didn't
turned the
take part
Italians.
in the death camps.
yeah. But
Okay, so,
anyway,
like-
let's finish this story up so we can.
We don't put up
either go to
we
bed
don't
or
put up
what
fucking things to like Rudolf Hess or fucking. Oh, man, I'm trying to come up with a general, and it's killing me. Fucking. What's the guy in the East? Shit, it's killing me. Paulus. We don't put up fucking things to Paulus. That's the Stalingrad guy who
Yeah.
got captured, and then Hitler promoted him to field marshal. Like right before he was captured, as a way of saying like, because there's never been a field marshal captured, and he was like, "Yeah, just kill yourself already. Did you not get it? I promoted you to field marshal, so you kill yourself."
Kill yourself.
Anyway,
You're
so
field marshal.
the soldier instantly dies to 3 bullet wounds, and he thinks he's in heaven. And then the voice goes incorrect. What the? I mumbled as I saw strange flowing text in front of my eyes, semicolon, no more than 6 inches. I absently waved my hand through the text, but nothing happened. So this is not heaven. Correct. I frowned at the new message, the old one shrinking and moving down to my lower right corner. I turned my head and found the new text stayed in the center of my vision while old one kept to corner. Weird. So if this is in heaven, am I dead? Yes. Fuck, I growled and sat up. I noticed the table I had been lying on was white. Where am I? Congratulations, you are in Afterlife Lottery. I honestly don't know what would be worse. You fucking wake up, am I in heaven? No. Where am I? Afterlife Lottery. I
What a
honestly,
shitty name.
I'd probably honestly just be like, fuck.
I'd be like, I just died. This is not an auspicious.
This is
time
where
for
all the
lottery.
atheists go.
You know what? Okay, if I went to Afterlife Lottery, I'd be like, this better be some good shit, or I'm out of here. Okay.
I'm gonna find a way to kill myself in Afterlife Lottery, and you can't stop me.
Just go out into the void and die.
As a winner of the Afterlife Lottery, you get to live in a new universe with unique gifts, such as Game of Thrones, DC Comics, Dragon Age, Elder Scrolls, at least they didn't put Skyrim, Halo, Harry Potter, Mass Effect, Marvel, Star Trek, Star Wars.
Fucking
If
kill
none
me.
appeal, you can spin the wheel! What? I
See,
shouted.
If you're gonna name it this, like, play it up more. I woke up in a swanky casino, and it was
See,
full of people. Like, this is
That's what I loved about Orf's story,
yeah.
where it's just like, welcome to the Afterlife Lottery, sponsored by Mountain Dew.
Dude,
You do
I
that,
play that shit
you
up
go
so bro.
ham.
You go absolute ham, obviously. Of course, that's the only answer. What? I shouted. None of those are real!
Says the man in the afterlife.
Lottery? Yeah, so you die, and you go to the afterlife lottery, and the lottery's like, you can spin the wheel, and go to one of these fabulous places, and your response to all of this is, but none of those places are real. Like, buddy, you're in the, quote, afterlife lottery. That shit ain't real either. Fucking God. Correction! None of them are real to you, but they exist in the multiverse. Your reality, like others, has the ability to glance realities. These glances have allowed creative writers to create stories that mirror events that happen in those worlds. Funnily enough, that's actually the background story to the Dark Souls story that Max and I were writing, in where it was a tier of observers reading the stories that the narrator wrote of these worlds.
Oh yeah, we did do that.
Yes, we did do that.
I forgot about that.
I didn't.
That's hilarious.
I blinked and stared at the newest text message in front of me in disbelief. Okay,
No.
are those my only options? I slowly asked. I was still not sure if this whole thing was real, but I felt I needed to at least play along until I learned more about what was really happening. No!
That's dumb.
As we
Yeah, that
stated
doesn't
previously, these are the most 10 likely worlds you will choose based on your previous life and our spreadsheet calculations. Do you have another you would like to add to the list?
I like the idea of some guy just being in there with an Excel spreadsheet. Like, okay, this guy read a lot of Game of Thrones. He really liked Ranger's Apprentice.
Yo, shout out to
fan.
Ranger's
What is this?
Apprentice. That's a great, uncommon pull I don't hear from a lot of people.
Listen,
Decent.
I recognize that it's not like the best, right? It's got some points where it's YA garbage, but it's pretty well written for the most part.
I'd say those first 4 books are the best YA fantasy can get, is my opinion on them. Those first 4 books are pretty great for YA.
Here's the thing. I was totally on board with that series right up until they went to not Japan, and that when I was like, all right, that's it. Worn out your welcome. We're done here.
That was, I think, the last one that I read.
Okay,
And
then what is this?
And there's that whole book with like the kids and stuff. Okay, so imagine
The
low
Norse kid.
fantasy, like it's the world, but there's some like super low fantasy. There's like orcs, and
We're there
people
for
can
one
do some
day.
kind of nutty stuff.
I see.
But like
So-
it's called Ranger's Apprentice because like, okay, you read Lord of the Rings, right? You know the Rangers of the North.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Imagine that, but their job is to patrol and protect England.
I see.
It's pretty
There's one
good.
for each province.
Yeah, and they can have an apprentice, and that's their understudy.
So it's like Fallen London, basically.
Kind of.
Yeah. Or like that one movie that Netflix came out with, that Bright, where orcs live with humans, but
No. The
No.
orcs are bad people, and this is absolutely medieval London.
oh, okay. So like that Bright was set in London. Okay, that makes sense. Can you link me to it? I would like to check this out myself.
It's
Yeah, I mean,
again, the first 5 books or so, really good. Really
Well,
good. Like when he gets sold into thralldom, oh my god. Dude, that book itself, just that one, was probably my favorite.
Well, especially because it was a super
actually
real
dealt with
depiction of
addiction.
dealing with addiction.
Holy shit. dude, not just addiction, like the mental strain you'd be under if you were a thrall, like an actual
depression,
backbreaking.
and
Oh my god, all of it is good, dude. That whole
Also,
story is so good. Also, favorite redemption.
Well, yes, Horace. All Horace.
Yeah, Horace, dude. Oh my god, dude. Horace became a Chad.
But the princess. Oh my god, everything that happened with her. It's like this is how you write a tough female.
Dude, I mean, it was
also,
like
tough female was like that chick from the Bartimaeus trilogy. I forgot her fucking name.
no, tough female is Toph. Toph is the best written
No,
tough
yeah.
female.
I mean, you're right, but you got to
Toph.
did a pretty good job in
It's
Rangers
Toph.
Apprentice.
I love Toph.
Given
No.
those societal constraints.
Toph, again, we will make this the Toph podcast. Toph is probably the best
This
written
is the Toph
tough
cast.
female character.
I mean, her
Toph
name
cast.
is Toph, dude. Like it's her name. It's in her name.
I know. Hey, I think it's over there. Everyone looks over there. I'm blind, guys.
Toph, quit shit posting on the bison.
Literally, just Toph just shitposted that entire goddamn series from start to finish.
It was great.
My favorite was when it's Avatar the musical, and she's like, "Wait a minute! It sounds like they got a massive buff dude to play me. They did. Excellent casting choice."
Perfect.
Yes, yeah. Oh, God. The boulder!
Do you want to know what the only thing I'm disappointed about that is? They didn't try to get the real Rock.
Oh.
Dude, I don't know. It feels like it'd be too much on the nose because I love the dude that they had do it.
Yeah, no,
He
the
did a
dude
great job.
absolutely went ham with that. The boulder!
The
Doesn't
boulder
like
is
your
confused.
attitude!
And then the guy that they paired him with, was great too.
I could not stop laughing that entire episode.
Dude, them like
That was
when they capture her and she figures out how to metal bend. That episode is like pure greatness. Although there is only one great episode, and it is the Tales of Ba Sing Se, and it ends with Iroh, and you cry.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Ah.
Do you
That
want
is-
to feel?
Literally,
This is
man.
gonna be a happy little episode! Oh man, this is such a great
Oh.
episode!
Hey guys, you know how
Oh.
we've been teasing Iroh's kid?
Oh!
Yeah, now that isn't it weird how much he's like kind of melancholy in the city since he should be happy that he has his tea shop and all that. Well, there's a reason, and it's because his kid died here. Now
Yeah.
cry, you bitch.
Literally, the end of that episode was "Cry, you bitch." Also, that was
Dude.
the memoriam episode to the Iroh voice actor.
Yes, everything about that episode is like,
Like,
oh, and then like when he teaches the guy who was just trying to steal, that is like literally one of the best scenes ever. He's like, your stance is all wrong. You're holding the knife wrong.
yeah,
Like I could just kick out your foot and you'd fall over.
What
And
do you
then,
mean?
like, he teaches-
I love how they built fucking Avatar up into such a great series, and then they proceeded to destroy it with a metal bat using Korra.
oh god.
And here's
I
the
know.
problem, right? I remember.
Oh.
Here's the thing, right? I remember when The Legend of Korra was first announced, and I was super hype, right? I
You
was
know what?
hype because
I know
and
it's
here's the
fun
thing, right?
to shit on that show, but I'd say the first season isn't bad.
It
It
isn't
isn't
bad.
Yeah,
Bad.
that's what I was gonna say.
Pretty-
But my
first
big
season
problem
was a
with the
good
first
start.
season early on was I was like, it lacks some of the gravitas of the first one because we don't have a clear antagonist. And by that, I didn't actually mean Zuko. Because while Zuko was the antagonist for the first season, the antagonist was actually, in fact, just supposed to be the Fire Nation, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you could read the first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender as the antagonist kind of being Aang himself, in that whole first season is him like
Fighting against himself.
kind of rejecting the idea of being the Avatar,
Yeah,
rejecting
exactly.
it, and then when he goes and defends the Northern Water Tribe, him finally embracing his role,
Right.
and then like showing the world that he is
Sure,
the
but-
Avatar.
right.
there's many different things you can say that are the antagonist because it's a deep show. But
Right.
the point is, right, the first season of Korra doesn't have that. And I was like, okay,
to be
but that's
fair,
okay.
the other
because
problem
this
I
is-
had immediately with
This
Korra,
is inherently going to be lighter
yeah,
because we just came off of World War, right? This
Right.
is the end of World War II, right? It doesn't matter what you do. The stakes are not going to be higher than the Fire Nation tried to ruin everything.
Well, yes, but the other problem I had with Korra specifically was the main character was... It was a very poor introduction. It was a fanfiction tier introduction, where the first scene we ever get of the main character is her as a child punching through a wall and going, I am the Avatar, deal with it. And I immediately on that scene, like, I had a chuckle, and then there was a little bit of a cringe to it. I was like, oh.
And here's the thing, right? There's little things you could do to just make that scene better. For instance, take off, deal with it, right? Taking off, deal with it.
Well, no, not even that. It's if you could have had her punch through. She shouts, "I'm the Avatar, deal with it," and then her waterbending teacher splashes her with a bunch of water and goes, "We're not doing earthbending today. You know, get back to waterbending." Basically, like disciplining.
Or even just dousing her with, "You're also still 5."
Right. Yeah.
Okay, this is my big problem. My big problem is the idea that, like, do you remember how much problems Aang would have if he tried to learn an element too soon? Like the entire episode that happened with him learning fire and ended up hurting Katara because he wasn't balanced.
Right.
Like, that's my problem. Because I don't really care that she's a brat. Like, having a brat as a character is fine. But my big problem is, like, why is this 4-year-old moving anything? She should only be able to waterbend, right? The test that they're going to do, like, is to determine that, not to throw around all of the elements.
Well, I was going to say,
it should be more about the spiritual side, which is kind of
the test that Aang had, right? There's like, how do you know I'm the Avatar? And they're like, because you picked these toys. He's like, they're just toys, and it's like, but they're not. Those are all from past Avatars.
Right.
Yep. That's the thing, though. I would have loved to see that
Also,
scene
that's a direct
happen.
reference to the Gandhi.
Sneaky, I know it is. My point there being, that was a great scene. It's like, how did we figure this out?
But, dude, wouldn't it have been awesome if we saw that scene? If we sat down with Korra and she was like, here, please look at these things.
Right.
And she picked the 4 things,
I think,
and they ended up being avatars of the past.
I think it would have been better if the first season did not have her being the Avatar. She was just a waterbender, traveling to Central City, trying to find a more exciting life than her tribal one that was at the South Shore. And
even if they started with, here's the thing: if they start with age 16,
Dalai Lama,
I've just been told I'm the Avatar. I'm going to Central City because I can probably find bending teachers for everything there.
Well, I say more interesting if we didn't know that she was the Avatar yet, specifically because a lot of her character development, quote unquote, apparently occurs off screen. Because keep in mind, as we watched Aang transition from a child with airbending, which means not only is he as a child carefree and he wants to go wherever and do whatever and be free, because that's both the airbending philosophy and the mindset you need to have for airbending, but he's also a child. And then throughout the seasons you see as he grows as a character and as he adopts the various elements into his styles, he also adopts the philosophies from those elements into his styles. He becomes less rigid when it comes to him. He wants to do, when he was just an airbender, he wants to do this, he wants to do that, he wants to go here, he wants to go here. And then when he becomes,
even as a waterbender, he's still very, like, it felt like his character had grown somewhat in that he wasn't as willing to just give up on shit.
Right.
But once he became an Earthbender, it felt like he had solidified.
Right, exactly.
More of a...
With water, he was more fluid. He rolled with it more, but he still had goals. But when he became when he started learning earthbending, he became more force of personality. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. And then when he became a firebender, he became passionate.
Yeah. Well, no, it wasn't passion. That was actually the exact opposite. Sneaky. Like, the entire point of that was it became the opposite, right? It was about letting go.
the firebender, like the idea of Zuko losing his ability to firebend and then relearning it with Aang was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that
no, but it
might be like one of my favorite choices from the series.
What? Yeah, because he's like, why can't I firebend? And it's like, I'm not angry. I'm like, what do you mean you're not angry? I mean, I've stopped being filled with hate. So
And
what?
now,
You can't
nowadays,
firebend?
I'm the person who says, that's rough, buddy.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that's just who he is.
But that is.
I wonder
like,
if
it was an evolution of character, is what I'm trying to say. And Korra was the de-evolution of a character. As we watched her just get progressively worse as a character as seasons went on.
I agree completely. I honestly think she should have, when she got her bending taken away, I think she should have stayed like that for a long time.
Yeah.
I think she should have had to like fight and fight and fight to get her bending back. Honestly, it was actually a good idea.
You know, yeah.
Dude, I honestly think it was a great idea to have her lose her bending like that. Because she's already built up, and now she's finally learned. And then, and in that moment, she turns the tables on him by going with the flow and doing the airbending, and it feels so triumphant.
Right.
I will give them that. That first season, I honestly think the first season of Korra is actually pretty good.
But here's my big problem.
It's a shit show.
Loses, yes, here's my problem, right? She loses the bending, and she doesn't say it like that, right? That is... It would have been amazing to watch as she tries. First of all, it would help the later seasons make way more sense if she spends the next 2 seasons trying to get back to being a bender and the Avatar.
Well,
trying to find a way
not
to
only that, it would
like
be a more mature show as they were trying to go for. Because
think about the emotion she would go through as not being able to waterbend.
Right.
The bending that she's most in tune with, right?
She
would
learn
the
lessons.
feeling of being outside of her own culture, and then like how she treats non-benders can work into it. With like maybe she could have like a plot with a character that she was kind of not mean but like rude to as a kid. You know, because kids are just kids.
Yeah. Kids are dicks.
Kids are dicks. You know, it is what it is. But like, there's so much you could do with that.
Right.
But instead, they chose the easy way to just, it's back to normal.
Yep.
Oh, nothing changed. But now she knows airbending.
There was such whiplash. There was such whiplash going on in Korra. Because it's like, it had these like super serious moments, like, you know, she loses her bending, betrayal in the main cast, like genuine betrayal in the main cast. And the father's betraying people, the daughter's betraying people, you know, fucking shit's flying left and right, shit gets super serious, and then they just have like these really just out of place moments where they're trying to inject humor where there shouldn't be.
I really one thing to harp on that I really love that they did was the pro bending. I really like that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, but
world-building wise, it makes so much sense, and I literally love it. It's one of the few things that show introduced.
Probably
that was like
one of the most potent scenes was the boat scene where the 2 brothers were fleeing, and one brother goes to the other brother's like, "Oh man, sure, I'm glad we got out of that. We're always brothers." And the guy's like, "Yeah, haha," and then he like sets off this explosive that was on the boat with them to kill them both.
Oh yeah.
And it was just a moment of like,
very ending.
What?
And then that's the end scene. It's just boom, straight to credits. No music, nothing. It's just like.
That feels like the end of an Avatar episode. See, there was episodes that would feel like, you know what, this feels like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, really it does. And then there'd be episodes where it's just like, what the fuck is this kiddie bullshit?
Yeah. It was really bouncing back and forth, which made me really confused. But if they had gone with a more mature angle, as they were clearly trying to do several times throughout the story with the whole removal of bending and shit and talking about those sorts of issues, they could have really turned it into a story where this bratty character who had access to all the bending and didn't really understand the plight of the, quote, lower classes effectively, loses their bending to this terrorist group that she originally thought was just a bunch of wackos, but then realized later on, now that she's lost her bending, it might actually have sort of a point. Now, obviously, she's still against them because A, they stole their bending, and B, they're a terrorist group, but realizes that the root of what they're talking about is true, that there's a lot of problems between benders and non-benders, and how the current culture has exacerbated the issues between the two. And then she grows as a person and learns, and learns how to fight as a non-bender, and, takes on Sokka as a role model, basically as this guy who was surrounded by benders, who somehow fucking kept up with them when all his weapons were a fucking boomerang and a hard stick.
That was one thing that made me sad, was that we saw nothing of Sokka. Right? I was sad that we didn't get more Aang, but I understood why, and that was actually one of the big problems with the show. Was we want this to be about Aang and his legacy, but at the same time, we can't do too much with him because this has to be the protagonist's story, right? It doesn't matter if it was Korra or someone else, right? It just needed to be someone else's story while still being about the characters in the past.
It also feels like the one non-bending character wasn't as good as the one non-bending character we had in the last one.
Yeah, no.
Well,
so Asami was nowhere near as good as Sokka.
Oh gosh, no. She
wasn't a horrible character, but she was nowhere near as good as Sokka.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they tried to do that with Mako, but part of the appeal of Sokka was that he was our ride-along character. He's the non-bender of the group.
Yeah, he actually belonged as the ride-along character because he was the non-bender, and it was even better because in the show themselves, Sokka even acknowledged that he was basically just along for the ride because, I forget what episode it was, but they were being attacked by something, and they're all like, oh, well, I can do this, I can do that, could we do this, could we do that? And they all look at Sokka, and Sokka's just like, what do you guys want me to do? I have a boomerang,
And that's why his transformation into the Swordmaster is so good.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I need to feel... It makes sense for this person who doesn't have bending to feel some level of less self-worth,
Also tactician, where he actually got really good at tactics because he had to get good at tactics.
But more than that, he felt useless even in a fight, though.
Right.
So it's like, everybody else is growing around me, and I feel stuck in the mud. And I can't do anything. And then when he presents himself and is like, I'm not worthy. I'm not good. I lied to you. Oh, it's so good. That whole episode is probably... Dude, there's so many good episodes of Avatar The Last Airbender.
I mean, you're right, but for me, my personal favorite part about that entire thing was this dude, right? I kind of wish they'd gone more into this Swordmaster being like, all right, Sokka, here's how you kill a bender.
Oh, yeah. Like, purposely teaching him tactics on how to fight a bender would have been great.
Yeah.
And then, like, him feeling, like, inadequate, and then, like, them connecting on the fact that they're both not benders and shit. Oh, man. It upsets me. And then the fucking meteorite sword. We lose it.
One of my favorite things was that he was part of the White Lotus, right?
Oh,
This dude was so badass that they're like, okay, so this is kind of an old man bender club, but you're in.
Yeah, let's think about the people who are in this group, right? You have, is it Pashu?
Yeah.
Paku.
Iroh,
and
Chiong?
King Boomy.
King Boomy and Ching? The firebender.
His name is like Shong or something like that. Like
Zhong. It was Zhong.
Yeah, Zhong. That's it. Yeah, him and then what's his name?
Boomy? Or
Boomy.
Oh, you mean the Swordmaster?
The Swordmaster, yeah. Like those 5 dudes. Like think about like the greatness of bending around them, and then this dude with a sword.
Carrying fights, by the way. Let's be clear, right?
Yeah, no. He's not like useless in a fight. That's the thing. He's like fucking keeping toe to toe.
Yeah, no, there's so much in
now.
Avatar that was great, and then when Korra came around, it was like a slowly decreasing interest in it, where they tried to up the stakes, but at the same time they did it so poorly, and then
They're like, let's
they're
up the
trying to
stakes,
be
but they somehow
serious.
lowered the stakes.
Yeah, and then they were trying to be serious, but then like they tried to inject child humor into it, and it was really confusing. And that like some of the shit like didn't make sense. Like I could see Aang being like, "We should make friends with the spirits," but Korra, who was like 8 years older than Aang,
Yang?
yes,
He-
Aang.
A- Avatar
second.
Yang.
Wait-
Oh
Wait a
boy,
second, he's trying to bring that BMI
fucking
or UBI. Fuck BMI. I'm
Ruby
getting weight
Avatar
and fucking money.
crossover, Avatar Yang.
Sorry, yeah. He's fighting Donald Trump with the power of the elements.
Oh no.
No, I was
He's gonna
talking
beat
about
the
Ruby.
rest of the. He's gonna beat the rest of the
Get
Democratic
outta
field
here.
in an Agni Kai. Bernie
Dude,
Sanders
no, but that
and his-
comic was so great. Did you ever read
Bernie
it?
Sanders, which one? The anime Trump one?
No, Heavy is the Crown.
I don't. What is it about? I might.
It's anime Trump fights.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
It was Trump versus Ron Paul, Trump versus Bernie, Trump versus.
The whole thing was a stupid shit post
Oh,
that I was weird.
It was so great. I also
That's
actually
fucking great.
own the physical copies of Wall Might, which I have to say is fantastic as well.
That's fucking great. Where'd you get those? Like, did you have to order them?
Yeah, I had to order them. Yeah, no, they were
That
doing.
sounds like some con exclusive shit. Where
They,
you just gotta,
yes,
like,
they were
find
doing.
someone.
They were doing a 500 copy limited run. I was
Dude, I
like,
wish I could have gotten
fucking bought. Oh
That's
god.
such a fucking. Oh man, that's so great. Wall Might. He's already such an American. That character.
Yeah, they actually perfectly adapted All Might and like the whole My Hero Academia feel into the Trump lineup. It was actually excessive. Like you would for a shit post you would think it would just be like references, but it was like Genlock Atin in its references, and where
gotcha.
it was a reference, but it took it and made it its own. But you could still tell that it was a reference, but it was clearly its own thing by this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Alright,
very
anyway,
good.
it is 8:36, so I am out of here.
All right, goodbye.
I hadn't. See you, man.
So
Night.
yeah, let's wrap up this story and I'll go to bed, I guess, or something. So basically, the guy is just I'm just gonna blah 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 my way through it and explain this whole shit. So basically, the guy is sitting here talking with the voice in his head about how he's got this afterlife lottery, and how he has infinite time to choose, and all you gotta say is "I choose you." Insert here thing. And he's like, right, well, what do I do? Why am I not angry? You have gamer mind. You can turn this on and off. Blah, blah, blah. No emotions. Blah, blah, blah. Compulsions. Blah, blah, blah. Note will automatically turn on when the player is in battle or HP falls below 25%. Costs 1 pppp per minute.
Ugh.
Wait, what? Am I really in some video game? Incorrect. While you were and will be alive, provided you select the universe to live in, you're not in the game. However, the powers we are granting you are easier for a corporeal mind to process if you think of them as an RPG stuff. Why don't I have any hair? I tried grabbing it. Why no hair? Your hair is determined by the life you pick. You currently have no hair. Blah blah
This is-
blah 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 blah. I think I'm ready to choose. I was wondering if it's possible to somehow merge universes. It's conceivable we could allow this. Only 0.1% of winners asked to do so. Most wish to merge powers that do not allow for easy crossovers. Please consider your choices and reasoning. I would like to live in the Star Wars universe, but I would also like to be able to do magic from Harry Potter or Elder Scrolls. about
mean, if I could choose to add a magic system to an already existing magic system, it would be Harry Potter because that shit is broken.
I mean, yes, but the thing is that so many people don't understand what the Elder Scrolls magic system is and how it works that
it's really stupid.
It physically hurts me.
Yeah, people don't get magic systems to begin with. People who think HP has a good magic system, like, literally make me want to kill myself.
Oh my god, I know. But, like, I understand some of the fanon being adopted, like the whole wards idea. Yeah, that just makes logical sense. If you can make a spell that's a permanent location be, undetectable, why can't you just say make a permanent spell that makes it shielded? Like a normal shield spell, except it's permanent on one location. Like, that makes sense. If you can do that with other spells, why can't you do that with this spell? Because there's no rules in the HP verse, so I can understand that sort of extrapolation. But HP magic is just garbage in general because there's literally no, like, comparison. There's no basis for any of the magic working and how it works. And so it's just like, oh yeah, you can just say the big cut, and a big cut will happen. And it's like, okay. Does it take energy to cast it? No, maybe. Yeah. Who knows? Okay. How do they cast it?
Casting it 100 times. How many times can you cast it before you're tired?
Yeah.
Are you just physically tired?
Are you mentally tired? Yeah.
Are you mentally tired? Does it tax you?
Are you drawing on some sort of energy? There's nothing.
Is that energy, like, when you do use that energy, does it feel like you're expending a reserve of energy? Or does it feel like you're drawing on energy around you?
Right, but because the problem is the only time we ever see Harry getting tired from casting a spell is when he's casting a spell that requires a specific mental component of happiness. Harry's not a happy character, so he has to specifically sit there and think about what kind of happy memory he has, and then concentrate on that and focus on that while he's casting this spell, and then to make this spell continuously work while he's being surrounded by creatures that feast upon happy memory.
The Dementors make that whole component like a huge amount harder.
And so he's clearly getting tired as he's doing this because I don't know, maybe it's really hard. Maybe it's really mentally exhausting to try and keep up happy memories around creatures that eat happy memories. Oh, who could have fucking figured?
And seem to suck the warmth out of you?
Yeah.
That seems like it could tire you out.
But that's literally the only time I think we ever see them being tired in a situation where they aren't constantly running. Because like every other situation that they're tired in, every other scene they're tired in, it's because they're sprinting through this battlefield casting spells left and right, or dodging or running. And it's like, yeah, then you could be out of breath and tired, but we still don't know if that's actually from you casting spells.
Yeah, we're running from the Acromantula, we're trying to escape the Whomping Willow, so we're tired. Everything there's a like physical component. We never know, like, if in his day-to-day life, when Harry casts Diffindo, right, to cut a sheet of paper, if that actually tires him out at all. Or like, if we do a certain spell a bunch of times, like, does that tire you? Is it the thing that happens to you tiring you? Like, what? It's stupid.
It's such a soft magic system, as Shadow says, that there's literally no rules and there's no operations on it, which makes it obviously great for crossing over to use as a power, I suppose. But
too sandbox.
Yeah, it's too sandboxy. Yeah,
it really is. It feels like a cheat code system. Whenever you cross over with it, personally, it feels like a cheat code.
Well, not even
so
that.
Many
just
broken
reading
spells.
Harry Potter stories in general, where Harry's like, "Oh, well, I just made a magic spell that makes my eyesight better and fixes my teeth and makes my face look great." And it's like, well,
and
how'd you figure that out?
Is massive.
Oh, how'd you figure that out, Harry? Oh, well, I just used basic arithmancy. What's arithmancy? Oh, math.
Spellcraft. But you make it with spells.
It makes no sense though, because it's like,
why didn't Hermione come up with any of her own spells because of it? I don't know, because I know she took it because she took all the classes.
Yeah.
Well, then, and the only classes she dropped were Muggle Studies and Divination. She still went to Care of Magical Creatures. She still went to Ancient Runes. Yeah, she still went to Arithmancy.
Yeah, but
Like,
that's another thing we've never seen is the usage of runes at all. Like, what do runes
Oh my
do?
God.
Runes lead to the existence of wards. Again, I can understand. So it's like, yeah, so you draw this symbol in the ground and you put it in like a square or a triangle or some sort of like
And
shape, and then
I'd really
you power
love
it,
like a lot
and
more
it does
expanded
something.
on that, where it's like, yeah, we have to sacrifice this bunny right here to power this ward, and that way no bunnies will come here.
Yeah, like there's
I'd
so
love some shit
much
like
that's
that.
just like so loose about that. But like what frustrates me the most about this statement of like I don't know magic like Harry Potter or Elder Scrolls, and where he's comparing Harry Potter magic to Elder Scrolls magic, which are
Yes,
two wildly different
very
things,
different,
so wildly
super different.
and just in how they operate and how they affect the person. Like you don't get tired when you use your magicka. You just use your magicka. Like,
Yep.
That's it.
It's so stupid. And more than that, like we know a lot more about how magic functions because we literally get like tomes about the learning of magic and shit.
Oh,
Like
no,
I mean,
Bethesda.
more than that, we
I
get
mean,
lore
as
about.
much as you can shit on Bethesda, they've written literally over 2,000 books about how their world works. Yeah, sure, they're basically effectively short stories, but still, that's 2,000 short stories about how their world operates. Like,
Yep.
that's a little bit more detail than J.K. Rowling put in.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's things that JK did right, and then there's things that are just like, why couldn't you just do this right? It's not that like crazy to think through.
I mean, and even J.K. Rowling straight up admitted in interviews that like she didn't have them do certain magics and she didn't have them like use guns or anything because it would unbalance the story and she didn't have an answer to it because of how she set up the system originally. And it's like, okay, well at least she admits it and acknowledges it, but that doesn't help the fact of the people pulling from it. You know? But so he's like, well, why can't I have Harry Potter or Elder Scrolls magic in Star Wars? And the guy responds with, we have analyzed these powers. Yes, they are extremely similar. As such, your request is denied. However, the ease of which you could learn force abilities equal to magic has been lowered as per your request. It is up to the player to discover these overlapping powers. In addition, the Force is capable of many wonders. As such, you might be able to rediscover abilities that other people have never used. Is this acceptable compromise for you? And he's like, yeah, sure, I guess, maybe. So basically, he asks for Harry Potter or Skyrim magic. And the AI responds with, yes, all of these things are super similar to the Force, and so we won't be merging them, but instead we'll just give you the ability to cast Harry Potter spells with the Force.
Yep.
Big brain. And so blah blah blah, blah blah, room had changed, character creation, Star Wars universe. Do you wish to change your name? Select species. Holy shit, I scrolled through all the races. Wow, that's a lot of fucking races. Almost every advantage had the number CCP. Character creation points. Blah blah blah. You have 10 CCP. Oh, it's a fucking CYOA. Jesus Christ. It's a narrative CYOA. I want to literally die. Emerald. Hair, wavy, light, ash, brown. Eyes, emerald green. Do you wish to accept this change? No. How about a brown-green mix? Eyes, amber green. Accept? Yeah, I guess. Holy shit. Then my eyes shifted color, and I grew hair, and I was terrified. Step 3. How old are you for a human? Chosen age is 8. Do you wish to be 8? Alright. You are now 8. Determine your stats. Blah 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 blah. Blah blah blah. This is the averages. Blah 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 blah. Max values depend on species. blah blah. For being granted access to unique gifts and knowledge from your previous identity, you start with plus 10 int, and plus 5 wisdom, and plus 5 charisma. Assign these initial stats and press confirm. Warning, leftover skill points will be lost. So I put points into shit. Blah 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 blah. Display shimmered. Stats in you. Blah 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 blah. Strength. Blah blah blah. Readout and what all the stats do. I put points in the shit. Are these your final choices? Yes. You now have character perk points. Blah blah. Based on everything, all of your choices so far, you have 10 CCCPs and 2 PPPs. Since this is a new identity creation, you can spend your PPPs on creation-only perks. For a perk name, blah blah, Force Sensitive, CCCCP, Force Adept, CCCCP, Force Prodigy, CCCP 7. Damn, if I'm understanding this, Force Prodigies, blah blah blah. I'm definitely taking one of those two.
It's really just read out
Yeah.
like the first 3 pages.
It's literally just a fucking CYOA. Yeah, it is literally just
This is so
a
dumb. Oh my god.
CYOA. These are the skills you've chosen. Here's the abilities you've chosen. Here's the perks you've chosen. Apparently, having empathy costs character creation points.
That's
Stupid.
weird.
It costs as
Like-
many character creation points as having photographic memory.
What is the empathy supposed to be? Is it like people empathize with
Who
you?
knows? We never get told because they're not actually skills. They're just representations of real-world dynamics.
Okay, but empathy is supposed to be something that is an innate thing with humans.
Yes, well, blah
If
blah
I'm
blah
just-
blah, author, blah
Yes.
blah blah.
If I saw empathy as as like a perk thing, it'd be like, I should have that anyways. And if not, well, hey, I don't have to deal with a lot of weird,
Oh,
annoying shit. I do
Max,
in life.
since you've just reminded me, I was told by my coworker today that, quote, I'm a normally optimistic person, but around you that seems to be drastically decreasing.
Sounds correct.
It's because I've never met anyone as stubbornly dickish as you. Like, it doesn't matter, Sneaky, that I've proven you wrong in like debates and arguments before. You will continue to hold that ground as it's falling around you.
The sneaky effect indeed, yes. Blah blah blah, lots of boosts and points. You have 340 skill points to spend, so basically it operates similar to the Mountain Blade system, it looks like. I had hundreds of skills, and sex skills too. Not sure how I'll use those, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye on those for later. I smirked.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to use it. Oh my god. I hate this so much. Why would you even say anything about it?
Because he's gonna put 9999 points into his sex skills and become a sex god.
I fucking hate this.
It's
That's the kind of shit that you do on QQ.
Okay, but I expect it from QQ.
Exactly.
I'm there
That-
for that if it's QQ.
I can't wait to get a lightsaber, but since I'm 8, there's no point in adding any points to combat because I haven't leveled up yet. Maybe I'll add points to crafting so I can build pistols. Ah, yes. Just casually build a plasma pistol. Skills are now locked. Notice, you have 70 skip left to use. You have over 300 skill levels. You have over 3,000 skill levels. This grants 2 bonus stat points. You wish to spend them now. Step 7, the Force. You are sensitive to the Force. You can learn Force. You can now use Force points to use Force abilities with Force. Also, we're just telling you this. You can't use anything yet. Oh, okay. Why are you telling me all this if I can't actually do this? Why is this a step in character creation if I can't do anything? Yeah, ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Look, guys, the author made a joke. Ha 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 ha.
No one's
I
laughing.
laughed so hard.
Step 8. Pick your era. Blah blah blah. All the eras. I only know movies and video games, so why not Rise of Empire? I know the Rebellion era the best. Rise of Empire selected. Step 9. Wait. 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 4,000 years before prequel. Starts 4,000 years before prequel. Rise of Empire era selected.
Does this mean the
Um,
Sith Empire?
that's the only one that I could
No, because
think.
that's KOTOR era.
Yeah, that's like
Oh, Sith Empire is like, I'm pretty sure even 1,000 years before KOTOR.
No, KOTOR was the Sith Empire.
there were two Sith empires, as far as I'm aware.
No. Then there's the Old Republic era, which I guess is Knights of the Old Republic.
Doesn't that go to like the Rusan Reformations, I think?
No, the Rusan Reformations were before that. Because when in Knights of the Old Republic, you are confronted with a Jedi, and the correct way to calm her down from becoming a dark Jedi is to recite the Rusan Reformation Jedi Code.
Oh, okay.
I think they're splitting it by games. Yeah, they are splitting it by games. KOTOR is actually the MMO, while Old Republic is actually KOTOR. So what they should have done is they should have said SWOTOR, Star Wars: The Old Republic. Because that takes place after. No, wait, no. SWOTOR does play. No, sorry, that was my bad. KOTOR 1 takes place after SWOTOR, but KOTOR 2 takes place after SWOTOR. KOTOR 1 takes place before SWOTOR, KOTOR 2 takes place after SWOTOR. And then Rise of Empire takes place like 3,000 years later. Which leads that's the prequels. Rise of Empire is the prequels, and then Rebellion era is the originals, and then Legacy is the sequel era, I guess you would
Yeah,
call
it's
it.
the stuff that, like, I'm pretty sure that's Luke goes on to create an order.
The Old Republic MMO takes place 200 years after KOTOR 2. Oh, okay. Thank you, Shadow.
Yep.
Still Rise of Empire is the prequels. That doesn't which is what was my point is that the summary says it takes place 4,000 years before the prequels, but the choice he selected, the Rise of the Galactic Empire, is specifically the prequels. So I'm not.
1,000 is just before Knights of the Old Republic, which that is way far.
Yeah, I'm
Oh.
not.
Okay, well, Rise of the Empire is at best 1,000 years, or like starting. Apparently,
Yeah.
Rise of the Empire started with Darth Bane, 1,000 before Battle of Yavin.
Wait, Rise of the Empire is.
Because that's when the rule of two was started, and it became like, okay, well, our empire has been destroyed forever, and we're literally just a shadow group, and Bane cleans everything up.
That's what they consider as Rise of the Empire? No, it makes no fucking sense.
Well, have you read the Darth Bane books? Because he does kind of set up a plan of like, listen, if we just do slow and steady, the universe will be the galaxy will be ours again.
I understand that, and I have. It's just I wouldn't call that Rise of the Empire. Like, the Empire really only rise. Like, you wouldn't call Antifa starting up a new chapter in, like, New York City Rise of Antifa. No, it's just Antifa. That's just like, you wouldn't call it the Rise. Like, if Antifa took over the U.S., you would call that the Rise of Antifa era. Like, you don't, just because there's a small little sect in this part of the galaxy that exists, you wouldn't call that the rise of that sect, because they don't control anything for thousands of years.
Now, to be fair, there's only 2 entries with the BBY that are above 70. There's 700, and then there's 1,980.
Yeah, which
And
was Darth Bane is the one that started it all. And then the second book's like, all right, cool, here's what we're doing. We're going
Here-
underground.
Right,
We're
but
going to build resources. I'm pretty sure that's why they consider it the Rise. Sneaky, just because it's
I
not
think-
obvious in your face does not mean that they're not building everything up for the
But-
final.
But that's my point, though, is that that's not a rise. You wouldn't say the rise of the Roman Empire was when they were fucking a colony of Greece. Like, that's not the rise of the Roman Empire. Just because they were building up to become the Roman Empire doesn't mean that's the rise of the Roman Empire. It's the rise of the Roman Empire when they started conquering everyone else and expanding. That's the rise. That is when they started achieving heights. Like, you don't say something there is the rise of until they actually start accomplishing something. And as far as we know, in terms of lore, the quote-unquote attempted Sith Empire was since before, 1,000 years before the Battle of Yavin, but the Empire itself wasn't capable of actually forming and taking over anything until the prequels. All I'm
pretty
saying is it's a really shit name.
Yeah,
I mean, I
pretty
don't
sure
think
with
think
entries
it is.
that
There's definitely better names for it. In fact, this probably should have been split into like 3 separate eras
yeah,
at the
I'm
most, 2 at the
pretty
least.
pretty sure that these 2 entries should have gone in their own thing
Like,
and left everything else out.
if you want to, like, get really down to the specifics of it, I would have called the Darth Bane, the point where the Empire is founded, or the plan of the Empire is founded, the Foundation era, or like something like that, because that would make more sense. Like, this is where it all started. This is where the plans came together. This is where the culture was set. It's the foundation. But it's not the rise, though. Also, if it's 4,000 years before, and the character is saying, yes, I know the rise of the Empire era best, which means that he would know the rise of the Empire era, as he's saying he does, but we don't know about the rise of the Empire era if it's referring to the one fucking reference of Battle Before Yavin in the 1,000 years Battle Before Yavin. Like, that's not knowing the rise of Empire era then.
Knowing Rise of Empire would be like, you're familiar with the books that
And he specifically
essentially-
says, I'm familiar with the movies and the games, which would make sense then if it's doing Coder, Old Republic, so, Coder, SWOTR, prequels, originals, sequels.
Yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure there are no games outside of the prequel games and the Battlefront games that would have taken place during.
The Jedi Academy, I believe, takes place during
Academy was Legacy era. I thought
yeah.
that was Luke building stuff up.
directly after he made the Academy game, but it was still getting stuff. The main
Anyway, so
character was his.
bloodlines and families. You can choose from these names and blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. I beat a Darth, so you might need a Darth, so why not Sean? Assuming that Revlin and Bastila had children. Ah yes, the Sean name, carried through generations of literally, what was it, 15,000 years to get to the point of Rise of Empire? 50,000 years, something like that?
Also, the bounty hunter was also part of that. Sorry,
Yeah.
talk to myself. Yeah, so
Yeah, I'm sure that name really carries some legacy there. Roll eyes.
which name?
Sean.
Might need a Darth, so why not? Huh.
4K
Bloodline
years,
has a specific
generation.
prologue you're supposed to play. If you don't have not selected that, it's the best option. Would you like to play the Lost Scion? Sure, I'll play the prologue. Character creation finished. And then I looked at all of my character creation, blah blah blah, strong blah blah blah. And then the room exploded into light. There, I have created a new identity. The prologue is now 60% written, but I don't know how to end it. Also, I'm stuck on creation of characters and both perks and player points. Ah, yes. I have included a whole new game mechanic that is wholly unique to this story, but I'm not really sure what to do with it at all, but I thought it was cool, so I put it in. Good.
Just ape it from existing game systems. That is what most people do.
Because, this is great. Edit. Since people seem to be getting confused about what's going on with the eras, Cameron is starting at 3950 before Yavin.
With his grand
Fucking code tour, you shit.
By the end of the prologue, he will have arrived in the Rise of Empire era.
Okay, so the only way for that to happen is for him to literally discover what Darth Plagueis.
No, I think it's gonna be a cryo sleep. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's a cryo sleep thing.
It's gonna have. That's the only way it can't be like far worse than of like, oh yeah, he just used the Force for immortality. It's like, except for the part where every time that's tried, it ends in failure.
But yeah, so I hate all of this. I hated the fact that the first chapter was a CYOA. As I've always said, the first chapter is something you need to really hook people into. And because we're now at 10 o'clock, I'm not going to start any other stories, but I will talk about in terms of hooking and whatnot real quick. So,
and how this
I'm currently reading
story
a
doesn't
story.
do that?
It's a Harry Potter Percy Jackson story. We're called Harry Potter Squatter. And the plot in the summary is literally Harry Potter gets abandoned in New York City by the Dursleys when Vernon was going on an international trip to try and secure a business deal in New York City. The deal falls through, and Vernon decides, hey, you know what? This is actually a great time to just ditch this fucking kid. And so he's like, hey, Harry, I'll give you $100 if you hand me your passport. And so Harry, being a 6-year-old kid, or so I say a 7-year-old kid, goes, wow, $100, that's a lot of money. What do I need a passport for? And so he hands Vernon his passport. And Vernon gives him $100. And then they leave him in New York City.
That he gave him any money at all,
and so he ends
astounding.
up wandering around, and he lucks his way into finding himself onto Olympus. And he squats in an abandoned temple of a fated god. And, the story progresses from there, and it's actually exceedingly wholesome. But the entirety of the first chapter really draws you in, because the Dursleys aren't super abusive. The author does actually an amazing job of writing children, and how they act and react to the world, and how their perspective is significantly different than the adults, where Harry constantly doesn't understand why some of the quote scarier gods are considered scary, because he's a child and doesn't really get what's going on with them and how they're supposed to act. And because he's a child specifically, the gods are more forgiving to him when he makes a mistake, unlike they would be to anyone else. So he gets a very warped perspective, as children do, on the people he interacts with. And the author does an amazing job of this, as through the 20 so chapters that I've read so far of this story. And he's doing a really great job of updating constantly. Actually, he just updated yesterday. He's been going on for a year now. It's around 250k words. I honestly didn't think I would enjoy the story at all, and apparently, even worse, it's a story that's a response to a challenge. And the author was talking about the other person who took up this challenge response, and it's called Harry Potter Champion of Olympus, and it is fucking cringe tier. It is garbage, hot fucking trash. And I'm lucky I stumbled upon this one first, because I wouldn't have read it otherwise. But the first chapter does an excellent job of really hooking you in, getting you interested in what's going on, because the author does a great job of describing the world through the kid's eyes and what he's got to do and how he thinks and how that affects how he interprets the world.
I need a link to this. This is really good. Holy shit.
It's generally really good. And I'm kind of surprised by it, to be honest. Yeah, Squatter is amazing. Yeah. Another
The
story
student-
that I actually recommend. Again, this is another one that I didn't think I would like. I looked at the name and I looked at the summary and I was like, this looks dumb as fuck. It's called Harry Potter. Sorry, not Harry Potter. Naruto, A Father's Love. Yeah, it's by DZT too. Yeah, it's him. But it's called A Father's Love, and the premise of the story is that it's a post Fourth Ninja War Naruto who ends up somehow in Percy Jackson universe, and the author actually does a really good job of explaining it as time goes on, revealing each little bit by bit, teasing you with the mystery of what's actually happening. But the premise of Father's Love is that Naruto has two daughters, Lucy and Annabeth, and if you've read Percy Jackson, you would know the names of those two people. And he does a great job raising them because he loves them very much, and he's a great dad, and etc., etc. And it is a very wholesome fic. It's an extremely wholesome fic. And it's first chapter is very interesting. He starts in an action scene he transitions that into being a nightmare, where he gets you interested in the character who's clearly Naruto, and he doesn't try to be all mysterious about it. He's like, nope, it's fucking Naruto. And Naruto's like, oh, I gotta go check on my daughters and whatnot. And over time, he drops little hints here and there, and he makes you want to keep reading his story, and it's really good. Unfortunately, A Father's Love is written by an author who is known for abandoning stories after a certain period of time, which is exceedingly unfortunate because it's a really good story. And it is also his current longest story. But unfortunately, it did stop updating back in 2019. And he has been writing a new story since, which usually means that story will never be we touched upon again. But I've taken up enough of everyone's time. I hope you all learned something here, or attempted to learn something.
I think we have.
Yes, I certainly
Yeah,
hope someone had.
This fic is garbage.
Yeah, that
And also D&D.
I've yet to look at DZ2 fic. That was not a cringe fic. It doesn't help that they delete things randomly and constantly spam. If you don't like it, don't read my fic. Yeah. That's the most cancer of ways to deal with
I
people.
hate that fucking shit.
Yeah, it is the dumbest shit ever. If you don't like it, don't read my fic. Well, if you don't like your criticism, maybe you shouldn't post your fic. But anyway, we will see you all next time, which is going to be a Friday, as it usually is, from 7 to 9 p.m.-ish. Now, something I have been considering, and I've talked to Juicio about it, and he said maybe, yes, and wanted to get your opinion on it, Max, because you're decently knowledgeable, and maybe I can be able to convince Atin, or maybe not, on maybe like a Wednesday or something, just sitting down and doing a non-fanfiction Contempt theater, sit down and just brainstormish podcast where we just talk about shit like we did last time, of medieval era technologies and whatnot, characterizations, naming schemes.
For a second there, I thought you were gonna refer to our midnight full burst sessions of just crackfic after crackfic being thrown out the randomizer.
I mean, no, I mean, we could that could probably get incorporated someday too, but no, the general gist of the idea of that podcast would be sort of like the polar opposite of this one, whereas this one's a more commentary on fan fictions, the other one would be a more lecture hall slash debate slash discussion on just writing in general,
Yeah,
world building.
We should probably keep it generally to opinions on that stuff.
Well, pretty much everything in lecture hall is opinion.
I don't know.
For some reason, Discord failed on me.
Dude,
but I would, I'd be down to do the Wednesday podcast generally, yeah.
So maybe we'll see that. Maybe we won't. I'll if I can think of a name. So I'll try and get something going.
I mean, it's pretty like Let's Build Worlds.
Yeah, sure. Let's build worlds. But probably at the same time, to be honest, because that's 7 to 9 p.m. is a pretty safe time for us to operate on.
We got to get all the shenanigans we come up with out in that podcast.
Yeah.
So that these fan fiction theaters can actually be fan fiction theaters.
Yes, that would significantly.
That D&D conversation.
I did
was like an hour.
I did love how Atin was like, let's get back on topic and talk more about D&D. It's like, Atin, that's not the fucking topic.
Yeah, you guys had such a good conversation going, and I was late anyway. I was like, I just didn't have the heart to be like, so hey, about this story.
I mean, the story was garbage anyway, and we all knew it, and that's kind of why we kept dragging it on. But I'm not sure which conversation was longer, D&D or Avatar. Avatar. That's not even a comparison. Oh,
that took a little bit, yeah.
D&D took around maybe 40 minutes, 50 minutes at most. We talked about Avatar for like a solid hour plus.
Yeah, so this is the type of conversations we can fucking jerk off to Avatar world building or read about Korra another time.
Yeah.
So that we can, unless it's a fic. Well, but obviously.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But so yeah, we'll see you next time. Maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday, but 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. as per usual, because we all have jobs and lives, or well, most of us do. But we'll see you next time, because there's always more, and it always gets worse.